And we're live. Hello, ladies and germs. My name is Phil Wolf. And tonight, Justin the Smitty Smith is late. He's late for once, and I was early. Glory be thy day. And as always, this is Snakes and Stogies, episode 155 on the Herpetoculture Network. My name is Phil Wolf, and tonight we're joined by some very interesting guests, some special friends, and we're going to talk about some snake behavioral stuff. But we could not do this show without the fine people of the Pacific Northwest, the Gendra, the Puget Sound Pythons. They sponsor the show. They're friends. I mean, damn, they're family, I should say. And we love them very much. Check them out on Instagram and Facebook, as well as your local Pacific Northwest reptile show. And BlackBoxCages.com. If you need a rack, if you need an enclosure, if you need a PVC that is finely handcrafted, sealed to perfection by legitimate herpetological artisans, BlackBoxCages.com. So now that we got that out of the way, hi everybody.
Howdy.
Hello.
Hello. So tonight we're joined by Dr. Travis Wyman, and as always, the good doctor had some wonderful thoughts and theories that him and I recently discussed on his recent journey to South Florida, to my neck of the woods. We have a device connecting. What do we have here? There he is.
I live. I'm here.
There he is.
Hello.
Hello.
We didn't do any late jokes.
Okay, cool. I know
None at
somebody
all.
did. Somebody did. Everyone laugh at Smitty. There we go. Yeah.
Yeah. This is like the first time in 155 episodes you've been late.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, I think it is. I mean, I stopped counting when I'm late. You know, it's not a good episode if I'm late, or if I'm not late, I should say. Well, that doesn't mean that tonight's not going to be a good episode. You know what I mean.
It will be a good episode.
Anyway, so the good Doctor and his lovely family recently visited my neck of the woods, and we got to go herping, which was fantastic. Before we dive into that, we're also joined by Nicole, and forgive me, Nicole, I forgot your last name. Don't hate me.
Tam.
Nicole Tam.
It's very short.
Very short. I like it. So, Smitty, before we dive in, is there anything you wanted to cover before we get the ball rolling? You were late, and I kind of did an impromptu baptism by fire.
This episode is brought to you by BlackBoxCages.com.
We
No,
did
we
that
got
already.
that.
Okay, we did that already.
Yeah,
We could say it again.
We did PSP.
Okay.
We did BlackBoxCages.com. But we could do it again because
What
I
do you-
like it when Smitty does it better than me. Better than I.
What are
Better
you
than
smoking?
me. I'm smoking another
Cigarette in one hand.
cigarette in one hand. The True Believer from Veterans of Tobacco. You know, those local guys by me that Davie, Florida. It's a gun shop / tobacco shop, and they support veterans and the like. And I was really pleased with it, so I'm giving it another go. What about yourself?
Another Blackbird. So Roger's had a really good clearance sale on these because he's trying to clear out space for newer stuff. So I've been buying these like crazy. So
Awesome.
Same thing for the last month that I've been smoking pretty much every Monday. But
It's good,
these
man.
unkinds are so damn good.
We're
And-
both gonna have to come up with something different for next week.
I got some of this here coffee from Cold Blooded Caffeine,
Excellent.
which is very delicious. I really like it a lot, for real. I got Mexican, Colombian, and then a Papua New Guinea, and I haven't had the Colombian yet, but the Papua New Guinea and this Mexican stuff is really good. Both of them separately are really good.
Awesome. Very cool.
And then hello, Nicole. We've been friends on Facebook for a hot minute, but we haven't really talked much. So
Yes, that's all right. I'm just
Thank you.
very under the radar most of the time.
We're definitely gonna have to cover why your emoji is a tick or your bitmoji
It's
or whatever.
Frank Kafka's
Oh, it's
metamorphosis.
It is Franz Kafka. I didn't even think of that.
You should have recognized.
I
that,
know I
no?
should. It's late. I've been
I've never
talking
heard of
all
that
day.
band.
Ha 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 ha. You know what's funny is Metamorphosis is actually one of the first books I ever bought. I actually bought it in middle school, and classmates were like, "What'd you buy?" Because like everyone's reading Goosebumps and stuff. I was like,
Sick Lincoln Park.
this is the Metamorphosis from Franz Kafka, and it didn't go over well, you know. But then again, it's me in middle school, and anyway, I digress. So what's up, guys?
Not a lot. Same old, same old. Recovering from driving to and from Florida.
Oh, it's not that bad. You loved it.
Oh, I enjoyed it, but you know, you get
South
that kind
Florida
of
is
highway
an entire-
hypnosis thing, and it takes a while to get out of the highway hypnosis thing.
That's actually interesting that you bring that up, because my cousin and we used to drive here to Philly at least once, twice a year, whatever it was. And he told me that their rumor is that there are certain hills on 95 in South Carolina specifically that are not overpasses. They don't cross a river or a creek or a road. They're literally there to break up the monotony of the highway so that people don't like get sleepy. Smitty, have you ever heard of that?
I haven't, but I'm sure it wouldn't surprise me because you go through like Francis Marion and stuff. There's really nothing out there. You know, I guess I can't think of anywhere in the state except maybe like on your way up to Columbia. I don't know. Nothing's ever seemed man-made like that to me that would serve that purpose. But
yeah, because I mean, there's some pretty good hills that you go up and down on your way to Columbia. What is it, 26?
I have no idea.
That one was Highway 26 that goes from
17 that goes up to Charleston, and then I don't go up to Columbia enough to know.
Okay.
Because I'm also usually Jake is also driving, and I'm like playing on my phone or napping or something. So if we get lost or something, we're kind of screwed because I have no idea where we are, what we're doing.
Well, that's no bueno. But yeah, we've driven 95 thousands of times, and there's like hills, right? Like highway hills randomly, you know, and then splits with big giant medians with oak trees in the middle. And it's like, why did they do that? There's no reason to do that. But then that kind of made sense that they wanted to break up the monotony. But what do I know? I'm not a civil engineer.
Could just add another damn Dollar General or something. Car wash. Car washes are the popular thing right now to build.
Car washes are a pain in the ass. They're so damn
We're
many.
about to have like our 10th one in a 5-mile radius. So
yeah, we just had a new one put in near us too, and it's like there's already like 4 here. Why do we need a 5th one?
That's such a weird concept to me.
It is.
We have an infestation of Starbucks instead.
one of them is a car spa.
What is that?
It's basically it's just the automatic car washes, except it's bigger, and then there's a bunch of like flashing lights and like colors and stuff. And if you have epilepsy, it's probably a really bad idea to go through it.
Jeez.
That sounds so unnecessary. The whole concept.
I went through it once. I was like, okay, that's cool. Went on about my day. $10 well spent.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'd want to spend $10 to have an epileptic fit in my car.
Yeah, no thank you.
Well, I think it's crazy that a car wash is $10 because by me it's probably like 30.
I just had to experience it. You don't pass by a car spa and not investigate.
I definitely
I don't investigate. So.
Yeah.
Here's the difference.
Strategically put next to a Waffle House, so
it's smart.
Probably
it's very smart.
That's the South for you. Everything's next to a Waffle House.
Southern hibachi, boy.
Dinner and a show.
That's right. Hibachi, Friday night fights, the Octagon.
I never understood the Waffle House.
Smitty, didn't you and I go to your Waffle House for the wedding?
I think so.
We did. It was like 2 a.m. It was glorious.
Was it?
Yeah, because I remember I got in really late on the first night, and I think you and I like went to and like we got Waffle House takeout. I think and brought. Did we bring it back to your mom's?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
something like that.
Anyway, Waffle House.
What?
I've only been over to the East Coast twice.
Where are you located?
California.
California. Oh, that's right. You said it was 6 p.m. by you.
Yeah.
Cray.
Yeah, that's
she's
why I
out
also
west.
said infestation of Starbucks.
Yeah, naturally. Do you guys have Huddle House out there?
What is that?
It's a half-ass Waffle House.
It's
No,
debatable. Okay,
not that I've
so
seen.
it's not discount Huddle House now. Like it has its merit.
I will say this though. Greatest thing about the West Coast, period, In-N-Out Burger.
Never been.
It's okay.
Oh, you have no say you live there.
It's all right. It's all right.
Look, I used to go to Vegas
I'll
once
say
a year
it's
for business.
It's a steady, reliable source of food, but it's not that great.
I
It'll keep
think
you alive.
It's fantastic. And to be honest, I heard they treat their employees really, really well in terms of like benefits and pay and stuff. And I don't think I've ever been to an In-N-Out Burger where the staff wasn't like, "Hey man, what's up? Welcome to the restaurant." Like
Chick-fil-A's
pleasant.
here.
They're not that friendly by me.
Nobody's friendly in Florida, Phil. It's Florida.
That
I was
is
gonna
true.
say, isn't
Everyone's
it like
miserable.
You remember how it was? We were driving. Everybody we waved to, they just kind of shrugged at you.
Yeah, but that didn't used to be like that, man. It didn't used to be like that. It's a shame.
That's
It's a
a
shame.
behavior that has been co-opted from Jersey and New York, and
Yeah, Billy Jenkins corrects it. South Florida. Very, very true, Billy Jenkins. Oh man. So going back to herping with Herr Doctor, we had a blast. I had a blast.
I had a great time.
And your eldest came with us, and that was a lot of fun. I feel like she had some fun too.
Yeah.
Did you want to share any of the photos that you took or no?
I can do that. I threw them up in THN.
Okay.
If Justin wants to access them more easily there, he can just find my post there, or I can just shoot them all over to you via messenger if you'd prefer. Actually, I think I've already shot some of them to you via messenger.
You did, yeah, you sent me I think the whole zip file actually. So Justin, do you mind uploading it so that StreamYard doesn't kick me out?
I'm grabbing it. Yes.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful.
I only sent Justin the ones for Pia and Cody's,
Okay.
but I can correct that real quick.
Well, while you guys do that, I'll give a little taste. So Dr. Wyman expressed how he kind of wanted to find some pygmies, and I have my favorite pygmy spot, which is actually where I've collected the ones that I've kept, and it's usually pretty good for at least finding one, especially this time of year. March kind of kicks off pygmy season down by me. Unfortunately, the area that we went to is lots of sugarcane, and that area is being massively harvested. So I figured we'd take a drive there and kind of scout around and, show Doc the cane fields and the big scary house that Casey Cannon loves. And we did not find a pygmy. So we decided to hit up one of the local wildlife management areas, and we saw a ton of alligators. And I don't know if it's just this time of year or because the water levels were really low from the canal locks, raising and lowering the levels, but it was Gator Central, man.
Yeah, there were a lot of good ones, and
Especially that one on
pictures
the
away.
rock.
Yes, and that's on its way over right now.
To me or to Smitty?
To Schmitty.
Okay, perfect.
The one on the
Makes
rock
Smitty
and
work.
the one that passed by the great blue heron.
Oh yeah, and the shorebirds were going crazy too, man.
For sure.
For show.
For sure.
Show.
Putting it on the show for show.
For sure.
For sure. But yeah, we saw some ribbon snakes and some Nerodia. Got a little sunset action.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that.
There we go.
Nice picture.
Look at that.
Yeah, that's from Pia and Cody's. That's a Tundra. I think I'm remembering the name right. He's a big old brute.
I have yet to get down there and see their new setups with all this outside.
It was really awesome. I mean, I was like literally 2 feet away from that animal. If I had extended my lens a little further, it would have been on the other side of the fence and probably would have become gator food, which is why I didn't get any closer to him.
They call them puppies of the swamp.
Yeah, well, they're hungry puppies, and
That a more.
Oh, look at those little teeth.
yeah, I believe that was the Orinoco croc that they had.
Stupid cute.
Yeah, and beautiful eyes
cute.
on that one. That jade eye.
Oh yeah.
Bicolor.
Oh
Yeah.
man,
Dude.
look at that.
That's one of my favorite species they have there. It's hard to beat that blue and green. Maybe it's a chondro thing, but I like it. Aurifer.
Yeah.
Schleg.
And that's a very interesting animal. It's almost got a calico modeled appearance on it. It's those those black and green fleckings.
That's awesome.
Bushmaster.
Yeah, that was their. I think that's a Mujinai.
Is that it has Mujinai kind of?
It's inside. I remember because I remember that snake. It's a hefty.
Yeah, it was a big snake.
Let me find the other one.
Very cool. How was the drive up to P and Cody's?
The drive wasn't that bad. We actually drove down there from Amelia. We had driven up to Amelia the evening before.
Oh, okay.
So
like made a day trip of it?
Yeah, made a day trip of it. Took both of the girls. They had, they were really excited about it. Youngest really enjoyed getting to play with the turtles and seeing all the alligators. We were tossing some of the gators, some of the Missouri gator chow, which was a lot of fun. The Morlet's crocodiles, the smaller ones, we're just scooping that up, and then a couple of the babies, baby Nile, baby gators.
Very cool.
Here's a pterodactyl.
Yep.
Yeah.
Florida ostrich. Oh, that picture came out great.
It's an illusion.
Nice.
Oh, there he is. There he is on the rock.
Yeah,
old boy's just chilling, man.
Who's better than him, right?
And that was the one we ended up going back for because Amber saw him, but then she saw something else that she's like, there's something shiny back there. To which Phil and I were both like, dear God, make my child not be the one who managed to peg a berm.
Right.
Oh, it's just a Four Loco can floating in the canal, damn it.
No, it was just another gator that happened to be in the light just perfect enough to the shine off of his scale. But when we backed up and saw that guy on the rock, he was a great photo op.
I was wondering, like, if when you went through all your photos, how great would it be if there was like a berm or like a big giant Nerodia in the shot, like hidden somewhere? I always look for those like unknown Easter eggs in wildlife photography.
Nerodia.
Yeah. These were Phil's candids.
I'm always driving and
from the seat of the car.
Yeah, I'm always driving and I'm like, you know what? Let me try and get some candid shots, I mean, it's also when father and daughter out in the field doing the Lord's work, and you forget to take pictures of yourself, you know what I mean? Because you're so fixated on nature and the animals. And I was like, you know what? Let me get some candid shots of them just to, savor the memories.
Phil's that dude in Africa that takes people on safari every day, and he like sees a lion for the 1,000th time. He's like, whatever, man. He's like,
that's
don't
not
eat
true.
the people I'm bringing to you.
That's not true.
Yeah.
Look, another damn giraffe.
Phil's definitely as much into the crits as we are.
Yeah, look at that
Is
sunset.
that an Nerodia?
That's an Erodia. Yeah.
Never gets old, man. We
Dude.
joke, but it never gets old.
No, they were fun beasts. Ouch.
So you want to dive into the whole, like, the main reason why I wanted to do this episode?
Sure, we can do that.
Is it that damn book that you continue to tease me with? Don't.
No, it's not that damn book, but it'll slightly go off of that damn book.
Tell the people what the book is.
It's the second
One-
edition of
We've only been waiting
Venomous
for it for
Bites
like 3
from
years.
non-venomous snakes, and yeah, I got the text alert that my credit card had been charged while I was in Florida, and I was like, oh boy, because
Nice.
I've been looking forward to this one for quite a while, and so far I've only been flipping through it, and it's it's reinforced some of my beliefs for the snakes that I have. It's made me rethink some of the snakes that I had considered getting in the future if there were ever the opportunity. So,
Did you pre-order that straight from the publisher?
yeah, I pre-ordered straight from
Okay,
Elsevier.
'cause it's still on for pre-order on Amazon. Like it hasn't even been released yet. So I guess if you pre-ordered it through them, you got it quicker than like before public release. And does that one come with like a digital version too?
It may have. I didn't actually check the email that came with the hey.
I don't know.
Your,
Well, like
your book's on the way. So
the Mater's vet book has like a little QR code on the inside cover that you scan, and it basically says like, "Here's a digital version of it." So, because like the Kindle version of that on Amazon is literally $100, and the hardcover option is $125, which is a bit ridiculous. Like I understand books ain't cheap to make, and you got to pay the people to write them. But at the same time, I'm just going to fork over the extra $25-$30 for the hard copy and then try and read it on my phone.
yeah,
1,000% agree.
that does seem a little bit, off, but
I'm just glad people can get their hands on it now.
Yeah, I never got the first one because I was waiting for the second one. So
First one is one of my favorite books.
yeah, everyone speaks highly of it.
it was a good book, and at the time Schmitty was looking for some information out of it, so I just sent him my copy and was like, don't sweat it. And then when the second one came back around, I was like, I think I'm gonna have to get the second edition. So
Yeah.
But that
Good
one's
on
like
you.
the second one. When you initially looked at the description, like it didn't sound like it was much of an expansion upon the first one, but then it looks like that one's like a solid twice, if not like a third bigger than the other one than the original one was.
it's a monster.
It's a legit textbook.
Yeah, it's 750 pages long.
Yeah, wasn't the first one was like 400 something, I think?
Yeah,
So,
450.
Awesome.
clearly a lot's changed between now and I think the first edition was released in 2017.
Yeah, well, I think they just managed to hunt down more reports and stuff. Plus, there's been a lot more phylogenetics and stuff. So getting things sorted into more proper families and trees and things, and then allowing the breakdowns off things like that.
Very cool. Very cool.
But as Phil said, the sort of motivation behind this was when we were on my way down, I was listening to some of the episodes that I had managed to not catch up on while at work, and Phil was talking about how he had picked up the tail end of his stilettos and was, for lack of a better term, we're going to call it stung. The animal used its tail, that sharpened tail, to stab him with it. And Phil recounted how it hurt a lot more than you would have anticipated that it might have, given it's just a snake tail. And the effect seemed to last for a while.
Right.
And that got me thinking. So with the Ramphiophis that myself and Nicole also keep,
African beaked snakes for those.
The beaked snakes.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I forget that not everybody likes to do the the scientific names for things.
Some of the more obscure stuff, we got to throw some bones, you know?
They have this rather unique behavior. The whole group that the beak snakes fall under. So you got the beak snakes, the sand snakes, Malpalon, things like that. They have this bizarre little behavior called scale polishing or rubbing behavior, where the animal will rub their body down all over their body. And in some cases, if they're cohabiting, they will rub down the other snake that's in the cage with them. And there's a little gland that they have kind of between their eye and their nostril that they're using to rub along their body, polishing themselves. And the behavior, while it's kind of unique to the Semophid group, those are not super distantly related to your stilettos.
Right.
So if you look on a phylogenetic tree, I don't want to say they're super close, but they're a lot closer than you might think.
Right.
And it got me wondering if perhaps the stilettos are also doing sort of a scale polishing behavior. And just because venomous snakes also tend to excrete low levels of venom just as part of their nature, perhaps what's happening in that tail sting is that in polishing themselves, they have rubbed very trace amounts of the venom onto their body. And so when it stabs you with its tail, you're getting essentially a microenvenomation,
Right.
which would account for the increased pain factor plus the lingering factor, because, stiletto bites are known for just being ungodly painful.
Right. And just to add to what the good doctor's saying, when we talk about a snake stabbing you with his tail, it's predominantly slender African species that do it, although other species from around the world have been known to do it. And most of the African species, talking about the beak snakes, the sand snakes, even some of the cobra species from Africa, in fact, almost all the cobra species from Africa, the very last scale on the tip of the tail is super sharp and pointed, and they'll use it as a defense mechanism or a distractionary mechanism. So if you were to pick a cobra up by the tail per se, it will begin to stab you with the tip of its tail in a hopes that you'll either let go from being stabbed and scared, or as a distractionary measure so that you fixate on the tail while the business end of the snake, the head, can swing around and defend itself appropriately. So it's very common for a lot of these snakes to stick you and stab you with that tail spine. However, it honestly feels like someone's just lightly stabbing you with like a fork.
Yeah, it's annoying.
It's annoying, but it's very prevalent that that's what's happening. Only in this case with the stiletto, it was extremely precise. And I mentioned in the podcast it almost on like a neurological level, where it was firing off independent nerves in my hand. And maybe my mind kind of got away from me. I don't know, but it was unlike any African or snake species that stabbed me in the hand before. I mean, cobras, Synopsis, I mean, you name it. I've tailed a lot of stuff, and I've never had this happen. And after the good doctor explained about the polishing, it almost makes sense. I mean, and granted, this is I don't want to say highly anecdotal, but what would you consider somewhat anecdotal?
Well, the polishing is very well documented. And Nicole was kind enough to share a video with me that I shot to Smitty. I don't know if he can access it.
I just requested access. You're talking about the one on the Google Drive.
Okay.
I have the YouTube one pulled up.
I shot a YouTube video, which is a Malpon doing it. But if you requested access, Nicole, can you provide him access?
Yes, I can.
Awesome.
All right, I just got that notification.
Let me see.
So essentially, while they're doing that, the thought of the stiletto having parts per million envenomated me subcutaneously, if you will, is essentially trace elements of venom on the snake's body, and whether I touch the snake's body.
Okay.
Oh, nice. Oh, looks like it's up.
No, that's the Malpon YouTube
that's the
video
Malpon?
that I sent
Okay.
Smitty.
Yeah. Even the
if you-
Malpolon moss pescilanus will have that sharp tail tip,
yeah.
even though
Right.
they're more like upwards towards across the Mediterranean. Well, Insignitus is in Africa and other parts near that place.
And for those looking to Google it, this is often referred to as a Montpelier snake. Look at that.
Montpellier. Yeah, that's weird.
So
And
if you're watching this later, or if you're watching it in currently real time, you can see that the snake, it's rubbing its body, and they literally do go all the way down to the tip of their tail with it. So, like I said, this document is very well, or this behavior is very well documented in the Samoides group.
yeah, and even across different species, they can have different patterns of how they rub those secretions on themselves. Like someone will move like an up and down sort of M wave. Others would do like a weird P-shaped kind of movement.
So it is, admittedly, it is speculation on my part, and this is part of the reason I brought Nicole on, because she's actually got she's firsthand seen her animals doing it, whereas I haven't seen my Rostratus or my Ramphiophis do it, because they like to hide a lot.
Right.
Especially one of you girls keeps going into the background.
Yeah, he's found a way to slide behind the fake rock background, and he just lives back there, and will pop his head out long enough to peek out at me.
One day he won't be able to fit there anymore.
Yeah, one day he'll get fat enough that he'll be able to fit there, but I'm not going to force him to be that fat.
Yeah.
But like I said, since the stilettos are not too far away from the Sami group, it just occurred to me that they may have a similar type behavior. And so, like I said, it is speculation, but nobody, has observed it, probably because, the stilettos are really, really big about being underground all the time.
Yeah.
Or at least undercover all the time.
Right.
But they do have, a very similar head structure and facial structure. So it's probably not completely out of the blue to think that it might be
Right.
a similar type behavior.
And we were mentioning how the labial scales, they almost have this very large frontal labial scale that is very reminiscent of like a cleft lip, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And the doctor and I were talking about how the snakes that do this have that very similar lip scalation. And I actually just sent Smitty some pictures of the stiletto periscoping while in deep shed. And you can see those very large lip scales. And it just made sense in my mind that this is what could very well be happening.
Yeah, and I just forwarded those to you, Nicole, so you can see them as well. So Justin just pulled up Nicole's video, and you can see how the beak snake doing it. Again, they rub that little eye gland, but then they tend to use their rostral scale as well to help move it around. And that was my, again, my sort of speculation with how, since the stiletto snake has a very similar facial structure and that same little sort of pitted rostral scale, that they may be doing the same thing.
Thanks for sending over the pictures.
And
yeah, Jason, I sent them over to you.
Jason Keller just mentioned that his Cenophis crucifer, which I believe is the Egyptian false cobra, he's seen them doing that motion.
No, the Egyptian false cobra is now under Malpolon too.
Oh, is it?
Yes.
Moilensis.
Okay. And they're documented for doing it as well. So yeah.
Nice.
They're part of this same larger Samophene group.
Awesome.
I'm
So
trying to
yeah,
read the other stuff.
it's okay. Yeah, and we were talking in the car about the possibilities of, a venomous snake inadvertently lacing its body with, extremely minute levels of venom, unknowingly lacing itself. And it kind of makes sense. And I feel like I kind of want to go out on a limb on it, but at the same time, I'm also trying to be scientific in my mind.
Look at that little phallic demon.
It does. I didn't want to say it, but it didn't look like it.
We were all thinking it.
Yeah.
Saying it.
Yep. Then the video.
We all thought it when we saw it, and this
Yeah.
is a snake that's going into blue, and something that I see the same thing with my my calibars. When these really terrestrial snakes go into blue, they really go into blue and look just horrible.
yeah, to say the least.
Not many snakes look great while they're deep in blue.
Right.
No, but
It really is.
Very
But
few
especially
snakes
that
look
one.
that
Especially
bizarre.
that one in that pose is just.
Yeah.
It makes me uncomfortable. That's creepy.
But you can clearly see those labial scales almost overlapping the lower mandible.
It's a weird looking gargoyle.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah, I don't. Man, YouTube might take this down.
Yeah, YouTube may ban us for this.
And we were talking about how them doing this polishing is very much cleaning themselves to a certain extent, right? And how I've noticed with the stilettos, especially when I notice them underneath the cork flats, they do spend more time under cork flats than they do in soil, like under the soil, actually subterranean. And what I'll see is if it sheds on a Monday, it'll be gorgeous. It'll be a high, glossy, black polish, purple polish with the iridescence, like a rainbow boa. And then a day or two later, it'll be dirty because it'll have, substrate dust and particles on it. And then a couple days later, it looks gorgeous again, as if it had just shed and it hadn't. So it made me really wonder if they're doing the polishing and it just takes a few days for them to do their entire body. Maybe they do it in sections or what have you. And I try not to disturb them daily or if not every 3 days or so, because I want to leave the stress levels down to a minimum. But I really need to find out some way to do some kind of, I don't know, like endoscopic camera that I can slide in underneath the cork flat or in the hide and just kind of watch them and just see if they're doing it.
They actually make some now that you can get off Amazon that plug in your phone. I don't know how legit they are or how good they work, but they were surprisingly cheap because I looked into that at one point to look in and like check on egg boxes and stuff without having to take them out and open them.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the hard part would just be to have some kind of micro DVR and just leave it on record for 5 days straight or something. So
Yeah, and the behavior, I mean, there's no good answer for it because it's super understudied. So yeah, like self-cleaning has been speculated, but there's also some argument that it's like sort of just territoriality marking, but why they'd be marking themselves, who knows?
It's probably because after they do that, I noticed they rub around their enclosure a lot more in like some of their favorite spots, like around the basking. And they always leave smears like all over the glass, and it's just annoying. And I've given up trying to have pristine glass doors with that entire group. I'm just like, okay, I'm just going to see like little nose trails everywhere.
And there's also some speculation that it may be like a means of helping to reduce evaporation from their bodies. So kind of like, I guess the comparison that I've heard is to the waxy monkey frogs from South America that do the same thing. They rub this coating on themselves. And I guess there have been some liquid chromatography studies done that show that it is a fatty lipid type material. But again, nobody's done any real details on these guys needing to do it. So, but looking at the environments where they're all from, including the stilettos, I mean, they are from hotter, drier areas. So if the behavior is for that, it's still, it makes sense why they would be doing it. And the polishing, the cleaning aspect is just kind of a secondary effect, just because they're rubbing themselves down all the time.
Now, you had mentioned a particular gland that they all share.
They all they have a similar. I guess it is a gland. They call it a natrial valve or something. Do you remember off the top of your head, Nicole?
Yeah, it's like a natural valve. Let me check if I have a picture because I took some pictures either of my Montpellier snake's head or one of my beaks like close up, and you can almost see like the hole next to the nostril. Let me quickly look around.
It's between the eye and the nostril.
Yeah.
And, you know, I can't get close enough to mine to get a good picture of them because they like to move so damn fast.
Mine like to try and eat the camera, so I feel like we have the opposite problem. All right.
And it's somewhere in my files. I have some German's 140-page dissertation on snakes that do this, but I can't remember if he actually has a picture of the gland.
Well, while
It's
they're
in there
digging,
somewhere.
I mean, it's
Oh, I'm
interesting
sure.
because this is the first time I'm hearing about any of it. Like I
I was
don't know where this was
flabbergasted.
heading, but it makes sense.
While Nicole's looking, I sent Smitty 2 more pictures of the stiletto, and these were taken post shed, a day after shed, and you'll notice that the face is super pink. And I was actually concerned it might be some kind of rub, but then I kind of fizzled that idea out of my mind because the snake's designed to rub with its face, like to dig through the underground world. So I don't know if it was rubbed raw from shedding or if it's not even raw, if it's just natural skin coloration, and or maybe it has something to do with those glands. I have no idea.
Okay, here.
But you know what they remind me of is little like larval stages of the xenomorphs.
Yeah. That and Tremors.
Like from Prometheus.
All right, I'm sending across a screenshot from that dissertation that shows a diagrammatic example of it on a Malpine.
Nice. Smitty, can you zoom in on that photo on the face? Would it come out blurry?
I don't know. Let's see. It doesn't get bigger. It just makes everything around it bigger.
Are you using a mouse with a wheel?
Yeah, but it's still not.
Okay, I didn't know if you could roll the wheel if it would zoom in.
It's not letting me. What I can do is, never mind. Nothing. Save it, and then open it in preview.
Okay.
Here we go.
Yes.
It may take me a while to find that picture.
That's all right. We got time.
If only I had a webcam, I could pull out my big guy because he's pretty good about that stuff.
Switch windows. This is asking a lot of my MacBook right now.
I mean, if you want me to try, if you want me to try and do it, I can do it.
I got it.
It might crash. So.
Is that better?
Yeah, you can actually see the different colors. Man, that's way prettier than I thought it was.
Super shiny.
Yeah, right. And all those iridescence, you can see the 2 eyes. And
what's the point of those eyes? Those eyes are useless.
We don't know that, man. We don't know that.
The more to look at you with.
I know, right? For all we know, they could be, the greatest eyes on the planet.
It can probably see about as much as I can when I don't have my glasses on, which is about 6 inches in front of my face.
Ah, awesome.
If that snake can see better than me, I'd be really sad.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. And it's amazing how those giant head scales just bleed into tiny, tiny little scales.
It almost reminds me of a Scaphophis, but with super beady eyes.
Yes, yes. It's very Scaphophis like.
Which is the Scaphophis?
It's the Peter Shovelnose snake. It's
Oh yeah, yeah.
basically it's the African version of a hognose crossed with a bull snake. Like imagine a hognose, but instead of being turned up, their head is turned down,
Yeah.
and it's the size of a big bull snake.
Oh wow. And that equal to a mole snake size wise?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, look at that. It's almost like a heat pit, almost.
Yes.
Very interesting.
It's funny seeing their nostrils open and shut too.
Yes.
So now that gland port or that gland opening, is that also closable like the nostril?
It excretes it out of the nostril, so the gland opens into the nasal cavity,
Okay.
so they can open and close their nostril to get it in and out.
Awesome. Incredible.
Yeah, that's wild. So where enlarged nasal gland? Part of the nasal gland is F. Okay. Huh. Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy, man.
But that kind of stuff makes me wonder if there's more species that have stuff like that going on that maybe just never got looked at.
Oh, I'm sure.
Because it makes me think of the rhinos. Like the rhinos, if you look very closely, like at the end of each scale, there's two very small dots. And it's not like a pigment thing. Like they legit seem like some sort of sensory thing, but it's on like all the scales minus the scutes.
Interesting. I didn't know that about the rhino.
Yeah, I don't know. I have to get some pictures of it, but it's really, really
very
odd.
interesting.
Yeah, I mean, snake behavior is a very understudied, underappreciated thing, I feel. And so these weird little behaviors that get noticed, you know, the purpose behind them is just completely, for lack of a better term, arbitrary until people really get into the idea of trying to figure it out. But then, yeah, how it applies out, I've gotten into arguments with people on forums say, they're like, snakes have scales, so they can't have glands. And it's the single most ridiculous thing I've ever heard, because all they think of when they think of gland is like a sweat gland, and snakes don't sweat. But it's like, snakes have glands too, and they do a lot of things with their glands. And this would be one of those things that people, like Smitty said, it's not something that people hear about because it tends to just be so bizarre and obscure, and with species that aren't super well kept or super well understood. And but then you start thinking out about other things, and then you've got something similar on rhinos, and maybe they're not using it for the same thing, but perhaps it's been just through evolution co-opted into a different direction. Maybe it's a sensory thing, maybe
I think it's almost like a Lorenzini thing that you see in sharks. As much time as they spend in water, I think it's. Well,
that's what I was going to say. If maybe with them, it's because they spend so much time in the water that instead of where with the African snakes, where they're using it as a dehydration preventative because it's this waxy lipid coating that they use to coat themselves to keep moisture in. Maybe rhinos are using it for the opposite purpose. They're rubbing themselves down to, keep themselves from getting water blisters and stuff from being in the water so much. So it's more of a repellent than it is, a
Oh, here we go. I got the perfect picture. Let me see. Open window. It's blurry, but they're there. And it's, you can see them dot, 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 dot,
Mhm.
dot, dot. And like I said, they don't look like they're a pigment. Like it's just a coloration thing. Like they legit seem like
they're actual dimpled in
they
like
have
tips.
something. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. We see that in dry markon too. A lot of the dry markon, most of them just have like a single one on the end of all of their scales.
That's something I noticed with mine not long after getting them, and I haven't heard anybody really discuss it. And I don't know if maybe it's something you just like on the darker ones that I have, like I don't think it's as noticeable, but because this male in particular is a much lighter green, maybe it pops a little more.
I feel like it also could be mistaken for tipping. You know,
Yeah, and I mean that's what
so many
that's what I
snakes
kind of
have.
thought, but looking
Yeah.
at them at closer inspection, it's just odd that they would be in the same position, like same placement on all the scales.
Right.
Well, and if you get really close in, like if you pulled out a or a magnifying glass on those, like I said, they're gonna be pitted. You'll see that they're like
They definitely have like
concave.
something in them.
Yeah.
I'll have to get. I think I have a jeweler's loop laying around somewhere. I'll have to do that and see if I can get a picture.
Oh,
Yeah, there's a tool that every herper needs is a jeweler's loop.
Agreed.
I don't know if I still have mine or not. I had one when I had cresteds, but didn't find much of a use for it after that. And
oh, Travis,
know.
I found that picture of my Mons Pescelanus' head when he was smaller, but you can see like how his little nostril and gland is like. He has it shut.
Yep.
I love these snakes.
I will forward that over to you, Justin.
Look at that little angel. Where are you forwarding it?
I just forwarded it to the.
Oh, I see it. I see it.
Should just put all three of us in one chat rather than have me bouncing between two separate chats, but you know.
Oh, look at that green.
He's much greener and bluer now. That's when he was a bit smaller.
That's gorgeous.
Gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous.
Let me see if I can bring this up in preview too and zoom in some.
Here we go. Now we all have a single group chat going.
Look at that eye.
Yeah, the eyes on the Malpons are just incredible. But yeah, so just you can see his nostril how it's cranked down, but then there's that little slit too.
Man, it's like the eye of Sauron.
Thankfully, he's a lot less spicier than the other ones.
Yeah. One of these days, I'll get a hold of one of these spicy bastards.
I keep asking you.
I know, but first I need room, and then I need more money.
Yes. We all suffer from that problem.
Just need people to buy up a whole bunch of my ball pythons, but the ball python hobby is collapsing, and as much as people want to pretend that it's not.
The pyramid's finally inverting.
The recession's just killing it.
And that too. And
that's
other
just,
factors.
That's just a fact of life, but people don't want to admit it because, you got to keep trying to sell people on the idea that you too can be a breeder.
Yeah.
This sounds like those pyramid schemes from the high schoolers you don't want to hear from again knocking on your door.
Mm-hmm.
Monave.
Join us. And you're like, no, go away.
That's what I tell the Girl Scouts every time they try to come sell me cookies. So I'm like, I'm not.
Okay, but you can at least eat the cookies.
I'm not gonna buy into your Ponzi scheme.
It's not Girl Scout cookies is not a Ponzi scheme.
I
It's
want
just,
those Thin Mints.
yeah, right.
They're running
Tag
a
along.
monopoly, and no
It
one's
is.
doing anything about it.
It is definitely a monopoly. But I do remember those. Hey, I'm gonna have some people over this weekend. Why don't you come? And then you show up, and there's like 10 chairs in a circle, and it's like, what did I just?
You're
walk
like,
into?
wait a second.
It's a
So-
Tupperware party.
Yeah.
Right. So this is non-alcoholic wine that I have to buy in order to sell. This
What?
doesn't seem right.
This is not the kind of hang up you signed up for.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So Lisa says that her Ridley eye have the dots on its tail, and they're colored, but you can still see them. That's interesting.
I feel like I've seen a paper on those dots on scales somewhere, and I foolishly didn't save it, but I know I've seen that somewhere.
Yeah,
There's
see,
always-
the problem is I save them. I can't remember where what I
Right?
named-
It's like, and then you open your folder through of like 1,000 something PDFs, and you're like, oh my god.
Yeah, that's my
I'm never
problem,
gonna
is I've got,
find
like
it.
1,000 PDFs.
Yeah.
I think of stuff that I want to look to see if there's been a paper written about it, and then I just completely forget. And then every time I remember, because I think of something else, I'm like, I'm going to do that later today, and then it just never happens.
I feel that curse, particularly.
See,
I'm
I
like,
open
one
I
day-
open a Google window and I search, and then I send the Google search window to my email. So I have like 5,000 emails that are like, whatever
Oops.
my search terms were.
So I just was looking at
It's
Narial
not just-
gland.
Oh,
What's
sorry, I
that?
was just looking at a comment, and I was going to say, it's not just ball pythons that are the MLM sort of schemes.
No, it's all kinds
Like
of things.
almost every facet of the reptile hobby.
Yeah, but ball pythons are definitely the
One of the
segment
worst
that are feeling
offenders.
it the most right now, I would say.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sure.
But that's because there are like 50,000 animals for sale right now, and I don't think any other segment of the hobby has quite that many.
Crested geckos.
Close, I'm sure. I just looked up the narial glands in macrolaps, the Natal black snake, because I have one of them, and I found a paper that talks about Anguloloris inserting directly infralabial glands, and it mentions macrolaps, but when I open it, it's in Spanish, so I'm gonna have to do some translating later. But now I'm gonna go down a horrible rabbit hole. Thanks a lot, guys.
This is fun though, Phil. See,
It
this
is fun. It is
This
fun.
is the shit that I do all the time, and I know
Yeah.
Nicole does it all
Expanding
the
your
time too.
Travis and I are usually like sending papers back and forth,
Nerd
nerding
alert.
out.
Yeah, hardcore nerd alert.
Yeah, we have accepted the fact of life. We're nerds.
Don't get revenge on me, nerd.
Oh, that's
Rolling
good.
down the window, nerd.
That's great. That's great. Oh man.
And if you really want to hear a good nerd out, go find Dom's interview of Nicole.
Oh my god, you're pointing that one out.
Oh my no, that
You're
was
pointing
an
that one
awesome
out.
episode. That was an absolutely awesome episode. I've listened to it like 3 times, and
Sometimes I feel bad because it just kind of got totally derailed and we barely talked about the reptile.
it doesn't matter.
It became like almost 99%
science stuff, and that's the thing about at least the segment of the hobby that this snakes and stogies and the THN. It's not all just about the reptiles. Like we nerd out about stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, then let me say one sort of arthropod related thing since we're talking about the stilettos probably
Absolutely.
rubbing trace venom on their bodies. So some centipedes do secrete toxic compounds from their body because they have glands alongside them. It's not just the millipedes. So sometimes they will secrete toxic stuff, including hydrogen cyanide, that then dries onto their body and forms like this irritating substance. So when you don't do this, when they get eaten, whatever eats them, it like usually tries to spit them out because it's like poison.
Right.
I thought that
That's
was
interesting
pretty
because I was inherited, I guess you call it. I was gifted a Chinese tiger leg at one point, and forgive me for not remembering the exact species name, Scolopendra, but everyone warned me, don't let it climb on you because
Yes.
it has venom in the legs. And watching that thing eat a prey item, it would rarely use mandibles. Rarely. It would just sit there and just grab on with its legs, and the prey would just die. And that was one of the scariest bugs I ever kept.
Yeah, you know those like big things on the side of their head, those like
Yeah.
mandible looking things? Those are actually
Right.
modified legs that inject the venom into their
Really?
prey, the forcipulls.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're not actually their mandibles. They're just modified legs.
Yep.
And
Kind of
so
like how
they're
scorpion
basically,
claws aren't really legs either.
yeah, they're pedipalps that have a venom injecting device, right?
No, they're not even
Or is it?
pedipalp.
Yeah, they're
They're
not
not
even
even
pedipalps.
pedipalps. Oh wow,
They're
very
just
cool.
legs.
Yeah, they're just legs.
They're
Wild.
big.
The hug of death.
legs.
The hug of death. Ugh. Ugh. But I will say this though, that Chinese tiger leg was probably the coolest centipede I have ever had.
They're very, very cool, but I would say yes, definitely the Asian species of the centipedes are a little bit more
Yeah, for sure.
like high up there in terms of be really, really careful.
Yeah.
I don't do centipedes. I had one once, never again.
I
haven't
miss
had
mine.
one.
I had one of the South American ones, Galapagos. Really
Oh,
cool guy,
nice.
but really frightening.
Oh yeah. How big
He
did it
knew
get?
how to climb up the snake hook.
Oh, I feel like most of them do. That's crazy.
Yeah.
How
People
big did
usually
it
like
wind up
to s-
getting?
He was like a solid 8 inches or so.
Nice, nice. And you had one that was more of the like super rich dark cherry black.
Yeah, I think his mine was more orange red, and I think he wasn't what they're called the true Galapagos now. I know the taxonomy has changed around a little bit, so I
Right.
haven't kept up with it all too much. But at the time, he was a color form of Galapagos. I do
Nice.
want the Gigantea. That's the one with the dark red body you're thinking of and the almost
Yeah.
white legs.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those guys are so pretty. I love them.
Awesome. Awesome. And now I know there's a bunch of people that are finally captive breeding hardwood guys stateside. And I mean, they're going for big money. But one of my local bug guys to me, excuse me, he was one of, if not the first person to have hardwood guy in the US. And he died what's the word I'm looking for? They never did an autopsy. Unexpectedly, right? And it's believed that he got bit by hardwood guy. And just he was a
Hardwood guy are
little
one
old
of the
man.
nastiest Scolopendra out there. I remember when
Yeah.
they first started getting big on the scene, and some people accused others of like sharpieing their centipedes, and I'm like, you've got to be
yeah.
nuts to do that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, well, I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure he smuggled in the first batch because he wound up getting like 30 of them at once. I mean, like fresh from I don't even know what locality,
That's
somewhere
not
in India.
suspicious at all.
Yeah, he basically smuggled them in and gave them to a few friends. And the stock that's out there now, I don't think that's his stock, simply because after he passed, a friend of his swooped in before the family could divvy up assets and basically just took all of his collection.
Wow.
So I don't know whatever happened to those animals, but it's pretty much believed that he got hit by hardwood guy, and that's probably what wound up killing him.
I can't believe it because I know some people who've written bite reports from hardwood guy. They sound pretty nasty.
Yeah, and I mean, he was probably in his mid to late 70s, maybe 120 pounds. He was a small little old man. So
Ooh.
it makes sense that if that was it would have did some damage.
Mhm.
They are not even nice to each other. The male has to envenomate the female slightly in order to get the deed done.
Wow. That's wild.
It's a very centipede-like thing to do.
Yeah,
right.
kind of falls in whole line.
Yeah, I don't even know what species I had with the one I had. I got it in a group of stuff, I think from some dude off Craigslist on Hilton Head. And
If you ever got a picture, I can look at it for you later.
I don't think I didn't take a picture of it.
You tried to forget about it.
Yep, because it was like anytime I went in that tank and moved the the bark or the hide or whatever, that thing would just take off, and it just gave me the willies. I'll do old world tarantulas, androgynous, like scorpions and stuff, like all day long, no problem. But for whatever reason, if it has more than 8 legs, I ain't about it. Millipedes are kind of an exception because millipedes are cool. Those ones we saw in Texas were awesome because they were everywhere. But
What about those
centipedes,
house centipedes? Those guys are pretty cool. I like
Those
them.
are awesome.
they're okay. I don't.
They have
we
the
have blue
giant
ones by
ones in
me.
South America. I want to see one day.
Yeah, we have blue centipedes, and it's I don't know if it's native or if it's a hybrid with the feather tails from Africa, because we have those invasive by me as well. And they only get about the length of your thumb. It's a very, very small species, about cocktail straw thickness, but they're neon blue, like crazy neon blue. And
You gotta send me a picture of that when you see them, because
yeah.
we have several populations of blue polymorpha here in California.
Okay.
They're very pretty too.
Nice.
Sometimes
nice.
they're blue with like orange heads.
Now, do they get like normal polymorpha size or no?
Yeah, pretty
Oh,
normal.
that's awesome. Yeah, I had a polymorpha that somebody like got in, a friend of a friend got in their luggage from Arizona when they went on a trip to Arizona, and it was very what's the word I'm looking for? It was kind of Hardwick eye in pattern, but it was different shades of tans and browns and taupes with like little
Ooh.
black accents. It was super pretty, and I showed it to a bunch of people just to make sure it was a poly. But yeah, it's so crazy how different they are depending on range and
Yeah.
locality. Super cool.
I was flipping tin like 2 weeks ago, and I flipped. It was a black and gold flat millipede. I'm looking right now. Like I'd never seen one before.
Oh, I love those. Those are pretty.
I didn't touch it because I was like, it looked pretty hardcore. I was like, I have no idea what you are. I know that you're one of two things.
As long as you wash your hands afterwards and you don't eat
Yeah,
it, you're gonna be fine.
I didn't mess with it unless it was a
Don't lick
Georgia.
it.
Might have been a Georgia flatback. I don't know. I'm scrolling.
Don't lick it.
Yeah, I'll try. Try and stop me.
Highly
I'll do my
recommended not
best.
to.
Yes.
Those are very similar to the. I think they're the same ones that we have up here, Virginiensis.
I don't know, maybe
Yeah,
it
we
was a
have-
leeches. I don't.
We have the California version over here, but hydrogen cyanide gas producing.
Crazy.
That's why it's kind of hard to collect them, because you got to keep that container really well ventilated.
And see, they say that about the Virginiensis, but I have handled them. I have had them in cups and things. I used to have one living in with my rubber boas. Never had a problem with them.
I think yours are probably more chill than the ones here.
Oh yeah, they're super chill. I mean, like I said, I just pick. They don't even like ball up. I just let you just pick them up, and they'll just continue to crawl around on your hand like nothing's going on.
They're like, yeah, we know you're not going to eat us. I'm seeing someone saying centipedes are too fast. You just got to be faster.
Yes.
You just got to be faster. Jeez.
Yeah, the big house centipedes, when they get rolling, they'll startle you.
Mm-hmm. They
So
do have that really unpredictable thrashing.
Yes.
So I just sent 4 photos to Smitty, well, to the group, and I'm eager to know your take on the blue one, because that was sold to me a long time ago as Chileensis, the Chilean blue ring, and I don't know if that's the same species name anymore. But that centipede there is very much Scolopendra size, but the ones that I have by me are that cocktail straw diameter, but that coloration.
So, from
That's
what
a
I
centipede,
remember, the
alright.
blue ring centipede, that does look like one. It's the genus Ethmostigmus, if I remember.
Right.
So that looks right.
That's the polymorpha.
Yeah, the polymorph is really cute. Classic polymorpha.
Maybe that's
Hardwick eye. And then the last one is, yeah. That's probably the nicest one, though, out of all the ones you got.
Yeah, that's the
Except
Chinese.
maybe polymorpha, but I've had some really spicy polymorpha, and I had some really chill ones.
Yeah, that Hardwick eye was one of the ones from that smuggled shipment. And that deli cup
Yeah, I was
is
gonna
a
say that one is a really big one.
yeah, that so that lid, that orange bottle cap, that's one of the large Gatorade bottle caps, like the large big
Yeah, I
Gatorades.
remember
And
how big those are.
that deli cup is a 12-inch in diameter deli cup. So
Yeah, they do get big.
yeah,
And
That's
yes,
a
I
whole
call
lot of
those
nope for me.
Yeah, pass.
yeah.
I mean, I can admire it, but there's no way in hell I'd want that in my house.
No, look at their faces. They're really cute. They're charming. They're very good at cleaning themselves.
Yeah, I'm sure, and they're
They're
also
like neat little
really
creatures.
good at taking my damn finger off.
We did
I guess
have
that you just gotta be faster.
when I lived in Hawaii, there was some species that was there. I remember
Yes, that's
when
an
neighborhood
invasive
kids,
one.
yeah, neighborhood kids got we were all barefoot pretty much the entire 2 years we were there. I don't think I ever wore shoes, but a couple of the my neighborhood buddies got hit by them every now and then.
Yeah, I think that one that's invasive to Hawaii is subspinipes, and that's also a nasty attitude one.
Yeah, they weren't small.
They're
I remember
big.
that. Yeah.
They're angry, and they're hungry.
Yeah, I had
no,
the
you're calling them nightmare fuel.
oh, Billy
That
Jenkins.
makes me so sad. But okay.
The only time I never bred centipedes, but I had a Malayan blue ring, which I think is it still subspinous?
Subspinipes. Probably one of the color forms of it.
Okay,
Does
and
it have like an orange body with blue legs?
Yes,
and looks like it has
yes.
banding. Yeah, that's one of the
Yep.
subspinipes. Unless
okay,
taxonomy got changed again.
yeah, but
like-
you hit it right on the head. So that I had one of those that I didn't even think it was old enough to reproduce, but it had
Oops.
an entire ball of eggs, and I wound up convincing it off of the eggs with food, and then I used hemostats to remove the egg cluster, and sadly to say, I disposed of
No.
those eggs. Yeah,
No. But you could have
I
had a
wasn't about to
ball of
start
like
that
baby
project.
centipedes.
yeah, yeah.
They're really good
no,
mothers.
I'm sure they are. My lovely fiance is saying that when she was growing up in Greece, they would be all over the house.
Ooh,
And
I'm
her
sorry, Anna
mom's-
Maria. That sounds really horrible.
Yeah, her mom stepped on one once and had to go to the hospital and get a shot in her foot. Sad
Yeah, like
face.
I do like them, but I also acknowledge they can be bad for you.
Yeah, especially when
That
you
sounds pretty
inadvertently
bad.
step on them, right?
Yeah.
I think invert taxonomy might be the only thing that really tops like reptile taxonomy in terms of the mess that it is.
Oh, I
Oh
think
my god,
it's
don't
way
don't
worse.
even get me
Oh,
started.
no.
Tarantulas are
Every-
one of the worst ones, and then there's
Tarantulas
like
are bad.
Everything is that way. Everything is
There's
that
this
way.
one notorious guy who was in insect taxonomy. Thankfully, he's dead now, so he can't ruin anything else. But his name was Argamon, and he also had a bunch of other names he went by. He messed up so many things. It's so annoying.
Yeah, we have the reptile version of that.
Oh yeah, I know. I know.
They must be related.
If
Maybe
you
they're
say his name
cousins.
3 times, he'll appear.
Oh God, no, we're gonna avoid that.
Oh man, how did we get on the topic of peds?
Because
I
I
don't know.
successfully distracted you again.
Yes,
It's how it
yes.
goes. It's a good thing. It's all
Yes,
good.
mind games about bugs. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
We got on it because I was telling everybody to go to listen to your episode with Dom.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
I know, you just kind of like opened the floodgate there.
Well, like I said, this is a good thing because this hobby can very much enjoy lots of things other than just reptiles.
That's very true.
Because
A wide cornucopia of flora and fauna.
yes.
They
Billy
want back
Jenkins
to
says-
snake.
Back to snakes. Yeah.
Well, so
No,
Travis,
Billy, no.
Travis got that book, and I don't remember them mentioning beaked snakes in it in terms of bite reports and things.
He just showed me the picture today.
Yeah, I mean,
It's not just the picture; it's the description.
Yeah, that
No,
one
they-
is. Read it.
They
read
talk. The victim was a 24-year-old male private collector. The bite was inflicted on the metacarpal left index finger. The snake was attached for approximately 20 seconds. The victim reported experiencing severe pain that developed within an hour of the bite and was described as more distressing than he had experienced after 2 previous crolitine envenomations, one a prairie rattlesnake and the other a sidewinder. So the beak snake bite hurt more than that of a rattlesnake bite. That tells me that these are not a species to fuck around with.
They'll get you.
And
Yeah,
then,
but see that seems so bizarre compared to
Well, I
what I've
wonder
heard.
if those previous bites had something to do with that exacerbated reaction.
perhaps,
Yeah.
but also like you hear so many people like, so Nicole and I are both in a group for Samaphine snakes, and whenever
Nerds.
anybody talks about getting bit by them, they're like, "Oh no, it's nothing. They're barely
That's what they say
significant."
about hognose.
I don't
It
think that's very
varies,
significant.
but yeah, it's also a lot of, I think, probably dry bites. But if
Yeah,
your snakes
and-
get bold like mine, and they usually get really, really excited when they see me because they associate me a lot with food, you don't want to get nailed by them when they think
Yeah.
you've got something to eat.
That's true. That's
and
true.
and I agree with the dry bite thing. I also think it's more, like you said, they get very excited and excitable, and I think they're kind of like king snakes in that they're very mouth oriented with exploring the world.
Bite first,
So I
ask
think
later.
a lot of people, they get popped and it's a real quick pop and they don't actually bother envenomating because it's like, what is this? I bite it quick to find out. And if it then seems like food, that's when they're going to clamp down.
Yeah.
But like on very rare occasion, like this group of snakes, they're super smart, and I very much believe in enrichment. So every once in a while, I'll throw like a live hopper or something in to give them that, ability to chase and smell and hunt down.
Right.
If you watch them hit a hopper and see how fast that hopper goes down once it's been bit, you'll really need to stop and think about, okay, maybe these things aren't as benign as we pretend that they are, because like, even like I've seen rattlesnakes bite a mouse, and that's like, sometimes a 30 to 60-second thing before the mouse drops.
Or
And
longer.
I see these beak snakes hit a hopper and it's down in 15 or 20 seconds.
Wow.
That's
They're fast.
Yeah, that's potent.
I remember my first time I ever saw beak snakes was an episode where Irwin was in Africa somewhere, and I'm sure a lot of people remember it. But
I've seen that one.
He was holding one, and he was talking about how like nasty they were, and that it wasn't something you wanted to get bit by. But then I remember years later seeing people sort of keeping them and handling them, and being like, "Well, wait a second, was it just that species that he was talking about?" Like, and then I don't know, like that book, that first edition, at least, like I know we've beat this drum a million times. Like it'll really open your eyes to a lot of the rear fang stuff. And the first thing I asked Travis about that book was like, does it mention thrassops? Because that's another one that at least was in vogue fairly recently in terms of imports and stuff. And even the like 1 or 2 bite reports I read on that, like that's still not something, like they're not
Don't
that
mess
far
with
removed from boom slangs. Like,
No,
you
don't
really
you don't want to mess with
roll
these
the
things.
dice? Like, I don't
Like
know.
I don't do it anymore, but I used to handle my beak snakes without my like rose thorn gloves, and they do kind of fool you into thinking they are pretty placid because they're usually so disinclined to bite. However, I'm like, you know what? I'm not taking my chances anymore. I
No.
know better now.
I don't remember who Dragon Layer is, but these are the Ramphiophis. So
The Rufus
I have,
beak snakes.
Yeah, the Rufus beaks. I have both Oxyrhynchus and Rostratus. Nicole has Rostratus, and do you still have your Rubipunctatus?
No, sadly they both passed. They were pretty old. Sucks. I
Yeah,
don't
really
know anyone
sucks,
else
'cause
who
I
successfully
think Howard
breeds them
Redding's the
anymore.
only person I know who had any, and I haven't heard from Howard in a long time.
Yeah, I was
He
just
seems
saying,
to
like, I
have-
don't know anyone who's still breeding them. I know Howard has them, but
Yeah, I know
nobody-
he's been trying, but like I said, Howard seems to have stepped away from social media, and so I don't know what he's been up to.
As long as he's
Well,
doing okay.
Yeah,
There was a-
well, he seems like he's doing okay. I think he just stepped away because social media can be a shitstorm, and
Yeah,
sometimes some of us just
agreed.
need to walk away.
Agreed.
There was a gentleman by me, and I can't remember for the life of me what his name was, but he bred reds, and I bought a pair of captive bred ones from him, and they were the most placid, chill colubrids I've ever played with, dare I say. And they ate like champs, and then they both just died out of the blue. Just couldn't figure it out.
Yeah.
But I have lots of
know-
pictures of me being stupid with them.
Yeah. I think the reds are more forgiving than, let's say, Oxyrhynchus. Oxyrhynchus, in
Yeah.
my experience, were way more likely to just nip and test and try to chew the things. But I know the guy who gave Howard his reds, he used to breed them pretty consistently, and he's in Southern California somewhere.
Yeah, every
But-
oxy that I ever worked with was very much the same as a Thrassops, very much the same as Toxicodrius, in the sense of, what are you doing? Why are you in my enclosure? Why are you
Get
touching
out.
me? Yeah, exactly. So,
Yeah, and mine are
Very dubious.
well.
Yeah.
It's my Rostratus is the more dubious one. My Oxys, they will stand their ground and they will be very curious. You open the cage and they'll hold themselves there for a little bit before they decide to back off and tuck away into their own little place. But if you try to follow them or flip the piece of cork that they're hiding under or something, they'll stand up to you. And I've had both of them bluff charge me.
Wow.
My Rostratus, you open his cage and he comes popping out from behind the fake background and just eyeballs you.
Squaring up.
Yeah. Or if he's out, the first thing he'll do is, like, wherever he is, he'll just do that little periscope thing and he'll just kind of stare at you like, the fuck are you looking at? Type of thing.
Sorry,
What do
he has
you
a lot of
want?
attitude.
Oh yeah, he does.
He got it from his mom.
I mean, he's a great little snake, but and yeah, I don't really hold. Yeah, I've got some of those like cut proof gloves for when you're working in the kitchen, and if I have to go in for anything where I'm going to be poking around and I might need to be anywhere near them, I'll put those on just to avoid the accidental nip. And I'll hook them when I'm needing to move them out, and I might, get their tail with my free hand and hook them, and they won't tend to flip around. But if they go, man, they can move and they can do that spring back on themselves thing really easy.
Yeah, like the Steve Irwin episode. I've had my Rostratus and my Rubros do that tail lasso thing where they hook me instead and also like spring back and square me back up in the face. And I'm like,
Yeah.
don't do that right now.
Yeah, little adorable bastard.
They're very cute, aren't they?
Oh yeah, they're awesome little.
But yeah, don't underestimate.
But yeah, no, they will.
Yeah, this is
when they get in a mood, they get in a mood.
Yeah, and they stay in that mood.
We'll give the disclaimer that these were not during feeding times. This was, made sure the snake knew that there was no food going on. This is strictly, don't just go grabbing them out of the cage. FYI.
I will also caveat in on, I think this is another species that most people who keep them actually keep them. Like, you hear that we keep our animals too hot. I don't think that's the case with most Ramphiophis. I think most people keep this whole group on a little bit too much on the cool side.
Way too cold.
These guys like it warm,
Interesting.
When they get cool, they get stupidly lethargic, and I think that's why a lot of people are also able to handle them with a little bit less caution, because they're only keeping them like mid 80s tops,
And that's literally
and that's like the cool time for them. I don't want to say that these guys would do great if kept like monitors, but 100-degree hotspot for these guys, they will literally just sit under that for hours because they love to be warm
They love
see-
to sunbathe.
Yeah,
That's
and they're
crazy.
super active hunters, and that's why they need to be energized so they can go.
Also known
Yeah,
as
that's
chasing
wild.
us around the cage.
Yeah,
Yeah, the guy that I got those from told me like, oh yeah, 82 ambient's fine, and they eat, they're eating pinkies, blah blah blah, and they ate pinkies and they digested everything fine, but I kept them at 82, which is what the ambient room was back then, and that's probably what did it for them.
yeah.
Sadly.
82
Yeah.
would be like the cool side for them.
The sad part is
Okay.
that they're also pretty good at hiding diseases. I found that even more so compared to some of my other snakes. And once they get sick, it's really hard to give them medication if you have to do it orally because
Mhm.
of their rear fangs and the way their mouth is shaped.
So you're saying
They
that
got that downturned face.
you're saying that giving them an oral medication is difficult because of a risk to the handler, or just
To the snake, you don't want
the
to
snake?
break.
Okay.
Yeah, you don't want to break their rear fangs. Well, kind of the rule for all rear fangs, honestly. But also just the way
Right.
their mouth scoops just makes that risk like even higher.
Yeah.
And that's why sometimes when they get mouth abscesses, I guess either from super rough handling during capture, import, whatever, broken fangs can lead to a systemic infection, which then usually can kill them off.
Right.
Because when they usually show those signs, they're already kind of on death's door. I hate it.
I saw a lot of Samnophis imported within the last year or so, and they are really pretty snakes.
Yeah, they are.
Nipper had some, I thought, or still does.
Yeah, and dude, Kellers are gorgeous, man. Keller's got them set up like awesome and like going through the sand and super cool
Yeah,
species.
I kind of envy Keller. I want to get some of those Egyptian falsies, but
They're overrated.
yeah, but they're also smaller than the Montpelliers, and I had a cage that I could have fit
But
one of those in.
Montpellier are like much cooler, in my opinion.
And I don't deny that, but they also need like an 8-foot cage, which I don't have right now.
They don't grow that fast. I'm just saying.
Well, maybe they don't grow that fast, but they're that active.
Okay, I
That's
can't
true.
deny that. My big guy's in a 6x2x2.
Wow, it's great. That's great. I love talking about these obscure species that don't get enough exposure. It's awesome.
Yeah, don't go out and buy them, people. I want them to stay weird and obscure.
I
Maybe
think
me and
The
Nicole,
downside is a lot
fuck
of
all
them
you.
are also wild caught unless you want to export from Europe, which is going to cost a lot.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think
That's
beak
true.
snakes had a sort of a spike in popularity, a handful of years ago, and it definitely seems like there's not as many people doing much with them as there was.
That's because usually imports come from really rough shape, and once people go through that
Yeah.
shock period of like, oh god, they're just dying, and like
Yeah.
it's awful, and then
Yeah.
they just kind of move on.
And they're almost all Oxyrhynchus now.
Whoever's selling them as Rubopentactus, whatever, they're just lying to you.
Yeah, they're. I mean, you
frustrates
cannot
me
get
so much.
rubras anymore now, and that's a real problem. Is a lot of people sell these baby oxys as rubras because they look kind of similar unless you
No, they
know
don't.
what to look for. Unless you know what to look for. I mean,
Okay, that's
little
true.
brown
To me,
spotted
it's like
worm with a
super obvious.
pointed
I'm like,
nose.
oh, that's not even close.
Yeah,
And that's kind of why I always talk to Matt most about how both of us want pseudapsis or mole snakes, excuse me, and they used to be like $200, and you could get the really, really pretty babies brought in from South Africa that were probably wild caught for like $200. Now you can only get adults. They're only captive bred in Europe, and they're $1,500 a piece. And it's because no one keeps them. And
You don't know what you got until it's gone, buddy.
yeah, exactly.
Still
Like
keep
a
them.
million other things.
And I am lucky enough to have a nice. She's right now very red orange.
For now.
Yeah, well, for now, and I mean, who knows what she'll look like as an adult? And honestly, I don't care what she looks like as an adult because she's just an awesome little snake.
How often do you see her?
I mean, I might see her every other week when I go to feed, and she pokes her head out at me.
Uh-huh.
When I clean tubs, usually I try to poke around and make sure she's still crawling around in there. But again, I keep a lot of snakes where basically what I'm keeping is a cage of dirt, and I'm fine with keeping a cage of dirt.
I'm with you, brother. I'm with you, man. I am. Dude, I've been trying to check that macrolapse at least 2 to 3 times a week and not disturb. I believe it's a him. Just by looking at the shed, I believe it's a him. Oh, by the way, it shed once. Yay. And it's funny because I obviously don't want to reach my hands in, contrary to what most Africans do. So I'll just gently press on the soil with a snake hook, and you'll watch the earth move. And I'm like, okay, it's alive. Leave it alone.
Yeah.
It's alive.
My box of dirt is alive. Leave it alone.
I mean, that's what I do with the calibars. Is I'll poke around with the hook, or I do it with the pseudaspis too. Yeah, I poke around with the hook a little, and then as soon as I see that, here goes the tremor worm, then I'm like, okay, it's alive. I'm good. Don't need to poke around anymore. It's fine.
Which species is this, Travis?
That's the pseudaspis. That's the mole snake.
The little
Oh,
baby.
Yeah.
Adorable.
She'll go through a radical change when she grows up.
Yes.
Look at that
and
diesel tail.
Yeah. They basically, they'll lose all that patterning and become very
Boring.
Not boring, just
Boring.
monocolor, but they'll
We
be
like
have a
our dirt
Malpolon.
snakes.
solid. Well, the Malpolons are monocolored too.
No, mine's got the black saddle on them, and then they changed to blue-green from brown.
Yeah, but they're like blue-green. It's just solid
Blue-green,
blue-green,
brown,
slate.
and black.
Okay, fine.
Haha.
But again, I need an 8-foot cage, and I don't have one right now.
No, you just need 6 feet.
Don't have one of those either. The only two of those that I have, one of them's disassembled, and the other one I'm still trying to build up. And they're both spoken for when they do get built.
Unrelated, but I did sort of clean up the Jansenite cage yesterday and rearrange it a little bit.
That looks
Looks
awesome.
Yeah.
it looks
$5
fantastic.
steak burn from Walmart.
Lisa, yes, some are red.
Yes, some are red, some are gold, some are
Some
black.
are brown, some are black. Good thing. Maybe not enough people were breeding them when they were around, and so when they stopped exporting them, they all died out.
I honestly, I
Yeah,
don't think anyone
and-
bred them in the U.S.
No, a couple people have.
they
The
have?
problem with them seems to be establishing babies. Yeah,
Really?
like they have a stupid number of babies. Like,
Really?
Oh yeah. I heard of one guy. He bred and he got 120 babies out of his female. Now I
Holy
think that.
crap.
Yeah, I think that.
Literally
is-
eat you out of house and home.
Yeah, but that's the thing is like he only established like 10 of them.
Oh,
That's just a huge attrition rate. So there's
So it's like a cockroach.
yeah, well, or it's just there's something about getting them established. Like I think I don't think they're as babies they're mammal eaters.
no.
I think they're
not at all.
probably
Probably lizards or something.
probably
else.
lizard eaters or maybe even bug eaters. Like I could seriously see the babies being like raiding termite mounds and stuff because
Sure,
they're
sure.
super terrestrial. I could just see them burrowing down into a termite mound and feeding on termite mounds.
Termites are a pretty good food source.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But are people here going to try feeding their snakes termites? No,
It's not that hard to raise termites. I'm just saying.
Well, it's not. But for herpers, it's not the thing to do because everybody's
true.
just so used to the idea of I feed it a pinky. I mean, look at hognose.
Well, I think I'd also be terrified of the termites getting loose.
Well, but
And I know different type of termite. I know.
Yeah,
but
and that's
still.
the thing is
You know,
you got
it's
it's
not
different
too
types
hard.
of termites.
To termite-proof things.
Yeah.
There
But
it goes.
like it's just the way it works with these things. Sometimes you've just got to find something that's real different to start the babies on until they establish and grow up.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Lisa has another question.
Are they like Amazons? A litter / clutch will be super variable.
I don't know without having done it myself.
I'm not sure either.
Most of the like clutch pictures that I have seen, again, it's only like, a handful of little babies instead of showing the whole huge clutch, and they've all been fairly consistent. They've got that spottedness to them.
I feel like the color varies by the population, kind of like Scaphophis from what I remember too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have in Johan Marer's most recent version of his book, which I think is volume 3. I just got it, and it has like 4 or 5 different neonate phenotypes. So actually, let me grab it if I can.
Phil runs away.
Nothing new there.
But yeah, they're just an odd little snake, and they're all over the place. But
Are there other species in that book that they didn't mention in the first one?
oh, I'm sure there are. I
That
can't even
stood
remember
out to
everything
you?
that's in the first
No?
one. But which one?
In the first one or the second one, is there anything that stood out to you from the first one that wasn't in there?
I mean, I haven't gotten all the way through it, but like once upon a time, I was really interested in the idea of keeping Rhabdophis, but having just flipped through the Rhabdophis section, I don't know that I want to keep Rhabdophis anymore, because like when you see this and the guy just bled and bled and bled until he died,
Yeah.
that all of a sudden makes me not want to keep Rhabdophis anymore, even though they're beautiful, beautiful animals.
They are, but it's so wild to me that those used to be sold in pet stores and stuff over.
Yeah, I mean, they were basically treated like garter snakes.
Yeah.
And then,
Big mistake.
People started dying.
Big
and they're like,
mistake.
wait a second. Someone said, hold up.
That reminds me of the guy who was like free handling his Androctonus scorpion at a reptile expo, and I nearly just passed out on the spot.
There's something about super
Phil's
tough
happy little
stuff
telescopus in here.
What's that?
that makes people dumb.
They've got telescopus.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
I mean, they've got all kinds of stuff, like even things that you wouldn't think of. They've got Nerodia in here.
Really?
Oh.
Mm-hmm. Now, it's not like, oh my God, the Nerodia are going to kill you, but, Nerodia do have apparently some degree of compounds in their saliva that can induce increased.
So here's a typical adult.
Yeah.
And then here is the a modeled adult that I thought when I saw this, I was shocked.
Oh.
Steak knife teeth.
Oh God,
Right.
yes. They have some crazy teeth.
Another snake not to carelessly handle.
Yes. Not because they have any venomous capacity.
They're like
But just
kukris, they'll
because of
punish you.
Yeah, their teeth are designed to cause damage, and part of that they think is as a male combat thing. The males will bite each other's tails and essentially render their opponent sterile by tearing apart the hemipene.
Wow.
And the males actually have, I mean, both sexes have gnarly teeth, but the males are larger. And they believe that that's a sexual selection thing with them. Kukri snakes do the same thing. The males, when they combat, they go for each other's tails. And so when you see them in the wild, and you'll see it in the imports too, the females' tails will be all messed up because the females don't care if they're being bitten along the tail in territorial dispute, because they're not going to have damaged hemipenes. But the males will try to flee each other so that they're not getting their hemipenes damaged from those nasty, nasty teeth. That was the other funny thing about
South Florida operate the same way.
Yeah. the other funny thing I found about this book is, like, a lot of the species in here, like the Ramphiophis has only got a page or so. There are 7 pages dedicated to kukri in here. Again,
Really?
not because kukris are venomous to any capacity, but because they are so notorious for bites that they just go into all this detail discussing, the nature of their rear fangs and how they use them and how they bite and how they'll, do the toad vivisection and the scavenging on other animals and stuff.
Very cool little snakes, but yeah, punishing.
Yeah.
Don't be stupid around them.
And you were saying that the Canna is the ones that also do that tail destruction in male combat?
Yeah, that's part of the reason that they believe that there's the dimorphism in the teeth. The male, I mean, like I said, both sexes have really gnarly teeth, but in males, the teeth are about 30 to 40% larger than they are in females, and that's behaviorally they see that the males go after each other towards the tail and the vent, and it's a manner of combating where you're trying to render your opponent sterile by biting him and damaging his hemipenes.
Get the competition out any kind of way.
Yeah.
And they have such a giant tail too.
Yeah. And
Probably
yes, Casey, the bite from a kukri is exceedingly painful. And exceedingly violent.
Remember the kukri bite challenge that was going around for a really short period of time?
I don't.
The dumbest thing ever.
It was so stupid. People found out real fast.
Yeah,
Travis was a part of that challenge and he didn't even know it.
It was very much an
unwilling
accidental
participant.
Yeah, very much accidental. I have never intentionally allowed myself to be bitten.
You sent like pictures or video or something once, and it was just a bloodbath.
Yeah, no, I mean, I own that I have been nailed by my animals on numerous occasions, and it's always been my own fucking stupidity. Here, I'm sending over a picture now that shows a baby straight out of the egg and then the bite that I got from it not 30 seconds after I took the picture of it in my hand. And
I remember that picture.
Yeah.
It came right out of the egg and chose violence.
Yeah. And that's what they do. They come out of the egg gaping their mouth at you because they are all attitude.
Wild.
And when they bite, they spin and they twist because they want to cause as much damage as possible.
They want you to not want to pick them up ever again.
Yeah.
And open their move.
So yeah, that little teeny tiny thing cut across the entirety of my finger.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But gorgeous.
Yep, they are.
And the best name ever for obvious reasons.
Yes. And my girl is nesting again right now, so I'll have a whole bunch more of these little stabby mouth bastards because I am a glutton for punishment.
How many do you have currently? Did you
right now I have
any of those babies? Did you hold on to any of those babies?
I held on to one of the red babies. I'm kind of regretting that I didn't hold on to more. Right now I just have 1.2. One of my wild-caught females passed, and I got rid of all the other red and brown babies for the last couple of years. So I've got my original wild-caught female. Like I said, she's the one who's nesting right now. A red female from my red by brown breeding, and then a wild-caught brown male. So I'll probably hold on to some of these browns that are coming in. I may try and hunt down a few more of the perps, and then I just dropped a little bit of stupid money on another species that
my fault.
Oh yeah, I'm glad you guys pointed it out to me, but I mean,
sliding the link over like, hey.
ever since I had seen that species, I wanted to get a hold of it. So the fact that there are some coming in. I had to.
Yeah, and I remember I was like, "Oh, hey, Travis." And yes,
I know
to
someone
Lisa.
who would love to bleed. for me.
Yes. Yes, Lisa. They're the ones that they will cut open the toad and then eat out the internals of the toad.
Crazy.
And that the paper that described it as a new behavior, but it actually isn't a new behavior, because I have papers from like 2 decades ago where a keeper described his animal doing that to a mouse. He fed it a mouse that was too large, and it just went for the guts of the mouse and completely cored out the inside of the mouse and left the little body behind.
That's wild, man. Wild.
And there are reports of them in the wild, basically scavenging roadkill and stuff. And I'm sure they're doing the same thing. They just cut them open on the back, the belly, and the flanks, and they eat out the organs and just leave the body behind, because the organs are a real quick, easy meal.
Yeah.
I don't know that there's a more hardcore group of snakes out there in terms of just overall savagery.
Yeah, no, they're vicious.
I feel like
Have,
they're
have-
the
have I
Shrike
told the
of
story about the
snakes.
turtle ones?
Huh?
No.
Have I told you the story about the turtle ones?
No.
Okay, so there's a population on an island where turtles nest, sea turtles. And when the sea turtles come ashore to nest and start digging, the kookaries will come out of the bushes and drop into the nest with the eggs and get buried with the eggs. And then they'll just burrow around in the nest and eat eggs the whole time they're down there. And they will battle over nests to like basically maintain the nest as their territory.
I wonder if that counts as kleptoparasitism.
I
Because
would think that it would.
yeah, because some beetles do that with solitary bees. They just grab onto the adult bee when she goes to pollinate a flower, hitches a ride to her nest chamber, because the solitary ones dig like one chamber at a time, lay one egg, and like provision it with food, and then they just eat the larva and all the food that's in there.
Wow. That's wild, man.
A bunch of bums.
Crazy.
Crazy behaviors, but again,
Cuckoos.
this is the thing. These weird ass obscure species do the strangest shit, which makes them really damn cool.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
nobody really knows about it, and then people like us get into them, and then we start talking about them because we find they're really cool, and then everybody else wants to
Nerds.
get in on it. And now that's why I like constantly remind people about just how violent and horrible these things are to keep, and how much blood you will shed, because I want to make sure that people don't keep picking them up, because then they're taking them away from me, and god damn it, I don't want them to take them away from me. They're mine.
Well, it's also like you hear about certain people. For example, Connor Wardle was just on Colubroid, right? Talking about whip snakes and coach whips and stuff. And these obscure species are so fascinating and so awesome to keep, but people don't realize what's entailed. And I'm really grateful that the majority of my collection is, dare I say, easy and like worry free, because I'm constantly hovering and trying new things with the fossorial stuff. And it's like I almost care more about these tubs of dirt than I do the rest of the collection, because I don't have to worry about the rest of the collection.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Connor, like he made really great points about the whip tails and stuff. Like I see so many people trying to keep coach whips, and it breaks my
tubs.
heart, because coach whips are another one of those species. Like they you see them bash their faces to death and just get smashed up, because they're so active and they can be so high strung, and you really need to devote the time and the effort into them. And like he does that, but most of the people who do it, they just see this beautiful pink and black snake, and that's all they care about, is that it's a beautiful pink and black snake, and they just want to have
Right.
it for that. They want it for the likes, and that's
Yeah.
not that's not the kind of snake that you do that with.
And
You need to
depressing.
devote time and energy into giving that snake the space that it needs so that it can move and that it can see and that it can crawl and hunt and be its full active self.
It's depressing. And I remember, like you said, the pink and black coach whip. I've seen that snake bounce around through different owners throughout the years before it got exported across to Europe. I know that one snake, and I know who first kept it. And it's sad because these people just don't realize how much effort it takes, like Travis pointed out. And that applies also to the Malpolon, to the beaked snakes, all these pretty large, active, intelligent snakes.
Yeah.
And they also, like, if they don't get killed off immediately by bashing their faces, infections recurring, they also get fed way too much, but they're kept too cold to digest properly, and you just get like a whole mess.
Recipe
Yeah.
for disappointment.
Yeah.
Very
Well,
big
and
disappointment.
even if you keep them warm enough, they get fed way too much because, like, I have seen so many fat beaked snakes. I mean,
I've
they've got,
had
like,
to diet so many beaked snakes that
yeah,
were
but
fat.
I mean,
I've
yeah,
had so many fat
you've
beaked
shown me
snakes
some of
actually
yours. Like,
die.
these snakes should not have double and triple chins. They should be thin, lightweight, fast moving snakes. And you see these snakes that are just like
Sausages.
ready to explode. And it's sad because these snakes should not look like that. I mean, if you look up pictures of these snakes on iNaturalist and stuff, or find videos of guys out field herping, they're, like I said, I don't want to say shoelaces, but they're thin and they move.
Oh,
and
yeah.
these big fat things that people have, they're like, they're not moving like a normal snake. They look horrible, and it's depressing to see that.
Oh, yeah.
I see that in a lot of the kukris groups. Like, all of them have got these, like, that they've basically looked like the pinhead syndrome you see in ball pythons, where they overfeed the python and its head is just teeny tiny. The snake doesn't have a neck. It's just this giant, fat, obese thing. And that's
Right.
not how it should be.
It's
Yeah.
horrible. I sent a picture to Smitty just now of one of my adult females that I received, and she and the male were incredibly obese. That's her, like, just right out of quarantine. And that was at least 5 months after I first got her, and she still was fat. She was fatter than in that picture.
Wow.
And the hard part is when you're having them lose that weight and you want them to maintain a healthy weight, it can be a really delicate balance because
Wow.
sometimes they can crash really hard and die from losing all that weight, but also having to recover
It's
from
a
it
major adjustment.
because the fat is crushing their organs. When you see them at that point, it's already bad because the way snakes pack fat in their body, it starts in the body cavity. So when it becomes outwardly obvious, you're already at a bad point.
Yeah.
You're going to have to struggle to get that weight off.
And I can attest to the
That's
problems.
the pinhead syndrome.
I had my Dasypeltis, my egg eater, and I seasonally fed her. So, like, half the year she wasn't eating. And when she passed, I did a necro on her, and her entire liver was fat.
Really?
And
fatty liver disease.
Yeah, I really was angry at myself upon seeing that, because, like, she did not look fat. But as soon as I saw that in there, I was kicking myself over the fact that even though I was, seasonally feeding her, I was still feeding her too much in those 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
And it really, really hurt me to know that I had done that to her.
It's one of the more difficult things about the hobby is keeping that healthy balance, just because it's hard. It's hard to tell how a snake is obese because a lot of overweight and obese snakes are so normalized within the hobby. Sometimes we forget what they're supposed to look like.
Right.
Yeah, and that's like the corn snake groups are a pretty good example of this. I just, as much entertainment as I got out of one in particular, I ended up leaving it last night just because it's like this is just getting too
Depressing,
much.
huh?
But like you have people that will absolutely crucify a newer person for having a red bulb on top of their tank, or aspen, or not having enough clutter, not having 5 hides, not having but then someone posts a picture of a corn that's clearly looks like it's about to pop, and everyone's like, no, body tone looks great, looks perfect, looks fine.
Yeah.
And
It's
like,
got the vestigial hips.
like, are you
It gained back its hips.
Yep.
are you people fucking high? Like, are you not seeing what I'm seeing? Like, this is ridiculous. Like, this snake is done. Put it on a diet all you want. This thing's past the point of saving it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like
Yeah.
you put a red bulb on a tank and everyone automatically says, oh my God, you're the worst. But that's completely okay.
Yeah.
And it's wild. Like some of the stuff that you see in some of those groups, and it's why I talk about all the time. Like, groups are not, most of them are not great. A lot of them are just absolute cesspools that are just echo chambers. Like, nothing good comes of them. And then, like Nicole was saying, I completely agree. The obesity thing in animals is pretty rampant, and it is at that point where it's like, even if they look like they might be on the thinner side, they're probably exactly where they need to be.
Yeah, the best thing I've found personally for myself was going to look at wild representatives of those species and kind of look to see the more healthy sort of representatives and see like, okay, I gotta keep this in mind when I look at my own animals and sort of aim for that kind of body condition. Yeah, loving it to death. It even happens to dogs, cats, etc. Anything we keep.
I mean, especially you see it even more so with your more sedentary stuff. Chondros are a really easy one to get.
Kenyan sand boas.
Yeah, they're all like chondros, especially. I've seen some really fat chondros. I have some that are heavier than I'd like them to be, but it's just, it takes so little to get them too big, and it takes a lot of work to get them back down to size if you can even fully get them back to what would be considered normal or in that parameters of healthy.
Yeah.
Jeez, and I thought it would be difficult to obesify a tortoise, and yet someone in the comments is saying,
yeah,
that's a thing. That's so sad.
Yeah.
When they got
it's especially
pouches
hard
popping out their back legs.
Oh yeah, and I think it's especially hard when it is a heavier bodied species, like whether it be blood pythons or some of the bitish like gaboons and rhinos and puffs, and we feed it a rat once a week, and it's like, oh, it's always fat. It's a fat species. It's like, no, it has mass. It has mass. It has fat. It retains feces, but it should not be eating a 5-foot snake of that size. Should not be eating a large rat once a week. It shouldn't.
Once a week is way too much. And
I'd
they're
be
not
hard
supposed to
pressed-
look like tubes. You gotta see that
Yeah.
spine.
I'd be hard pressed to give it one every other month.
Yeah. Yep. So like on
Like
my big,
go ahead.
I was gonna say on my big bitis, I don't feed anything larger than a small rat, and that's usually like once a month, if that, depending on the time of year. So
Even with the chondros, man, even on the feeding schedule that I have them on, which is almost no schedule at all. Like if I now that I have the rat pups and stuff, I am starting to feed them a little more regularly. But if I can't remember the last time I fed them, they're probably due. But even then, doing that, I have some that are a little on the chunky side. But the other ones, they're like exactly where I want them to be, And so it's like when you're dealing with an animal that has probably as close to no metabolism as it gets, it takes very little to just get so much weight and stuff on them. And then I found that with cresteds too, man. Like getting them fat is really easy. Getting them to lose weight is very hard because you barring just flat out starving them indefinitely, like it's really hard to figure out a way to do that to where you're doing it in a healthy way.
Yep, because you
You
don't want
know?
to shock their system just by
Right.
suddenly starving them.
Yeah.
You gotta take them down slowly,
Yep.
and that's again another hard thing that people just don't know how to do.
Yep. Brandon is saying there's a ball python-sized pygmy python on Morph Market right now. I know exactly which one you're talking about, and I hate it. I hate it. I hate seeing fat Antaresia so much. People tell me your children's pythons are too small, and I'm like, that's because they're not fat. They don't got the canyon spine. They actually have like a smooth tail. They don't have hips, and I'm like screaming forever.
I'm
Yeah.
I'm
I'm
bummed
like, you got
because
the world's smallest python, or one of the smallest, and you made it fat. Congratulations, you failed.
yeah, there was an episode that Mutton did back in the Herp Nation radio.
Herp
I
Talk,
think
or
is
yeah,
that what
Herp
it
Nation Radio.
Yeah, and he did one with Vin Rousseau on boas, and I don't think it's around anymore. I don't think you can find it, but it was awesome because Vin talks about with boas, he only fed his, I want to say, like 3 months out of the year.
Mm-hmm.
He's like,
It was
this
some of
is
the insular species.
much more in line with how they're actually eating, and he's like having better results in terms of breeding and litters and things like that. And I feel like that can be the case with a lot of species, not just boas. It's just whatever we think is a healthy weight, I feel like we could dial that back by a decent margin, and that be where things probably need to be.
Yeah. Well, it's going back to what Nicole said about, getting a look at these species as they actually are in the wild. When you hear Eric talk about, like he never really understood the animals until he saw them in the wild out in Australia. Now he's thinking more environment and stuff, but I'm sure if you pointed out to him, like, what's the body condition of those snakes look like? And when you look at your own animals, do you reassess, hey, shit, maybe I need to be feeding different? Now, I know Eric probably isn't one of those people, because we all know that Eric would get made fun of because his animals were always like small. And
right.
What the reality was that Eric's animals were pretty much the way they should be in the wild. And it's everybody else that, was breaking their snakes by feeding the ever loving hell out of them.
Yeah, that measuring stick has been warped.
Yeah. And the thing, like, everybody's like, well, yeah, but I can't necessarily afford to go to Australia, or I can't go to the Veld in Africa and stuff. Okay, yeah, maybe you can't, but you know what you can do? You can get your ass onto iNaturalist.
Agreed.
Agreed. I go onto iNaturalist all the time to look up the species that I'm interested in, just because, one, we all like looking at pretty pictures. But
of course,
there are like 1,500 pictures of Pseudaspis mole snakes on iNaturalist, and I'll just scroll through them just to see, and you can see those snakes, what they should look like. Do it for your corn snake, do it for your Pituophis, do it for your whatever the hell you keep. Get a look at what these snakes actually look like in the wild, and then go and look at that snake that you're keeping in your tub or your cage, and really take a look at what you've got, and pause for a minute and think, does my snake really look like that wild snake, or is my snake maybe packing on the pounds there some?
A little rotund.
Maybe do I need to slow down?
Yeah.
And also think about, it. I know people poo-poo it a lot, with the whole, like, enrichment is just for the hobbyists to say they're doing the better thing, but, like,
I don't believe that.
your animal's diet.
Yeah, I don't believe that at all.
That's a type of enrichment that's a really good thing, and I know that rats are really easy, but you know what else is really easy? Roll your ass over to the International Food Market and go back to their meat department and pick up a styrofoam tray full of chicken necks and chicken hearts and chicken gizzards and frog legs and a pack of silver sides and a slab of tilapia, and just mix it up a little. Quit giving them just fatty mice all the damn time.
When you order your rodents, you can just add some chickens or quail to your cart. Hamsters, even gerbils.
Get
guinea
other
pigs.
things. I have most of my collection now isn't eating well. most of my non-ball python collection isn't eating rodents. I have got so many quail and chicks in my freezer. I've got, like I said, I have trays of chicken hearts and chicken necks, and I rotate through different things all the time.
I put my
And
chicken hearts in the ice cube tray so I can pop them out more easily.
oh, damn, that's a good idea.
Use the silicone ones. There you can just like pop them out super easy.
That makes it
Yeah.
a lot easier than just having to try and chip the damn things off the giant
I know, I
frozen block of
struggled
chicken
with that
hearts.
so much, and I'm like, you know what? I'm not even using my ice trays. I'm just gonna put chicken hearts.
Yeah.
And they have
Damn,
the
I
lid, so they
like
just
that
snap
idea.
shut.
I can't find chicken hearts here. I've tried.
Well,
I've
come
looked
up to
high and
Virginia.
low.
I can take you to my place and get you chicken hearts all day long. Chicken
There's
necks.
there's a guy, Kevin, who's an alapa keeper up in the I want to say like Michigan area or somewhere up there. Forgive me, Kevin, if you're listening. And he's keeping wrinkles, and he's been feeding his salmon fillets.
Dude,
And
those guys are getting the good stuff.
and here's the thing is, I
And
talked
those
to my buddy.
omega-3s.
Might talk to my buddy who works in a major grocery store by me, will remain anonymous. And he's like, look, man, fish goes bad faster than everything else. And he's like, if it's in the styrofoam tray and it doesn't sell, like, we throw that stuff away. And I'm like, well, it may be bad for a human, but one day isn't going to hurt an elapid.
Throw it away
You know?
in my snake cage.
Right, exactly.
God,
So
snakes.
I'm going to talk to him about getting some salmon fillets and freezing them and cut them up into little strips, for some of the smaller stuff.
Yeah.
No, it
Always
can't
with
hurt.
fish, though. Do be careful of those preservatives. You can soak them in water for an extra amount of time to try and get some of those out.
Yeah, that's
But I
kind of
would
what I was
look it up a
thinking.
little bit more.
Yeah, especially with
Yeah.
saltwater stuff.
Yes.
Yeah, and I
I
know
would
I
also
had
be cautious with salmon because
Yeah.
salmon is a fatty fish.
oh really? Good point.
Really
Good
too
point.
good.
Oh, it's not
Yeah,
just delicious.
that's another one that could lead to a fat animal real fast.
Well, I also
Like
I've
treats.
had
Use it as treats.
Yeah.
right again in Richmond, and
Exactly.
I had a friend locally who did garter snakes and was almost exclusively feeding silver sides, and they got really big really quick, and they were healthy looking and they were healthy feeling, like when you palpate them, and they died. And when he went up taking it to the vet, the sodium levels of that animal were off the charts.
Ooh, wow.
Yes.
Because it was
Yeah,
just
you have to be careful.
it was just nothing but silver sides, and that's what basically they just, I don't know if it was some kind of high blood pressure situation or just overabundance of sodium. But
Yeah, I mean everything in moderation. Don't make anything a full diet of that stuff, but you mix it up. Like I said,
sure.
I will feed chicken hearts one week, I will feed quail the next week, then maybe I'll do a hopper mouse, then I'll do a frog leg, then I'll do a silver side, then rotate back to chicken hearts, chicken necks or something. The diversity in there keeps it
Yeah.
up. You're not cranking them full of fat, you're not cranking them full of like if you look at a chicken neck, it's mostly bone. So it's a great shot of calcium, but if that's all you're feeding your animal,
Yeah,
you're going to be doing your animal
there.
a really bad job by just feeding them only that. But giving them that every once in a while, not a terrible thing. I would really recommend maybe a chicken neck or two extra for your females at breeding season. Give them that extra dose of quick calcium that they can then devote to egg formation.
And a
But-
heart. A few
Yeah.
chicken hearts for that good protein.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Good protein, low fat.
Exactly. It's perfect. In
It's
small
Yeah.
doses, of
crazy.
course.
Connor his ears must have been ringing because he's in the group chat. We were just singing his praises. But I was also going to say that I may be preaching to the choir on this one, but everyone who is feeding these non-typical prey items like chicken necks and such, do not cook them first. Don't think that you're doing anything good by like boiling chicken necks or anything, because you're going to make those bones rigid, and just like a dog eating a cooked chicken bone, you're going to have major issues. So FYI,
Gotta be raw.
got to be raw.
Yeah, the weight thing too, I can see it being a tougher sort of thing for breeding females. So like pulling the corns and bears and stuff out of cooling to start pairing, looking at them upon pulling them out and saying like, I really I don't feel compelled to really beef them up and feed them heavy after coming out of cooling, because some of them retained a lot of weight still. And so there's some that I think they've had like 2 or 3 meals since I pulled them out, and that's probably all they're going to get before they start going in with males. If I, do give them something, it's going to be something small. But that one is a tough one in that regard. Because it's not going to be the same with every species, but in terms of
or even
colubrids
across the
stuff,
individuals.
yeah, there's just, I pulled 2 females in particular that I am pairing. I was just like, I'm not going to beef you up because I don't see a need to. Like, I feel like where they're at when they come out, and then by the time, they're gravid, time they lay, they're probably going to come out of that looking how they should be looking. So to me, it doesn't make much sense to beef them up heavy in anticipation of egg laying when it's likely only going to cause more issues.
Yeah, like the fatter the snake is, the harder it is going to be on her body when she's making or laying those eggs.
Mm-hmm.
There's like a balance.
Yeah. Good stuff, guys. Good stuff.
Like those bear rats came out perfect. Those Loma Altas, they lost no weight. They're like exactly where I want them, tone wise, like perfect.
Yeah, Connor's saying his glossies were real thick coming out of brumation, and he doesn't want them to get too fatty and then cause egg laying issues. So, exactly what we're talking about, man.
Ooh,
and that's crazy.
Liver is a tough one.
Yeah.
Yes.
Really soft organ.
Yes. And I can agree with Lisa, boiling the livers to firm them up. I think when Phil was saying, don't go cooking the necks, he was talking about how it alters the bone when you cook the neck such that it becomes like a splintering hazard. The same way, like you don't give chicken bones to a dog for the same reason. They shatter and they splinter.
Yeah.
So leave the chicken necks, leave really bony things. Like I know some people who also feed chicken feet. Don't go boiling and cooking those, because that's just going to make them those bones more dangerous.
I tried them and I was not a fan.
I'm not a fan of the feet, mostly because that's even more bone than.
Yeah, there's nothing to them. It's all skin. It's all skin and tendon and bone. And
neck is better in my opinion.
Yeah, the neck still gives some meat, and again, it's meat without the fat and stuff that.
Yeah, same thing with frog legs.
Frog legs is almost like water. Solid.
Yeah, they are. And I think where you get the frog legs makes a difference. Like I know, like Smitty, you say you can pick them up at Walmart. The ones that I get at my my international market, they're like farmed ones that are completely like they're night and day compared to the ones that you're picking up at Walmart. They're some of the beefiest looking frog legs I have.
I don't know, man. The ones that I've been getting at Walmart, the last like 2 times I bought them, they were so gigantic. I had nothing I could feed them to. I had to like cut the meat off of them to feed it. Like they were so big. Like even one would be a decent sized meal for that adult male Bruttles I had. Like the size of Chihuahuas, just huge. It's like insane. Like I remember opening the box.
What were those frogs eating?
Exactly. And I opened the box and I'm like, well, what the hell is this? Like, mother
Frogzilla.
what am I supposed to do with? Yeah. I was like, this isn't a frog.
It's not a frog.
It ain't.
Kasiki, I don't have any box turtles, but most of the times I've heard about turtles picking flesh off of carcasses and stuff, they're not chewing the bone down. They tend to just be picking the flesh off of the bone. So I don't know, but I would imagine that if you're getting splintered bone fragments into a turtle's gut, it would potentially be problematic too, like little tiny sharp toothpicks. Mm-hmm. So I would be careful with it. If you're feeding the drumstick to a larger animal like a python, again, I wouldn't cook it. I'd just give it to them raw, and they'll digest the bone up the same way they would with the chicken neck or anything.
Yeah, we've given a whole chicken wings to pond turtles, and they'll literally sit there at the bottom of the water enclosure, at the bottom of the water, and they'll hold the joint and they'll pick out like the mesentery and the sinew out of the joint of the wing and eat the joint out, and then they'll eat the meat around the actual bone underwater. It's pretty crazy. But again, this is raw, so yeah.
Yeah. They'll gnaw on them. Yeah, I'm sure they'll gnaw on the bones, but I don't think they're actually eating the bone. They're just like gnawing all of the good stuff off of the bone.
Yeah. Wild, man. Love it all. Love it all. Well, kids, we're at that 2 hour and 15 mark.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Is there anything else we want to cover?
I mean, I'm sure
I know,
we could
right, Nicole?
probably
Time
cover
flies when
all
you're having
kinds of
fun.
ground. We've only just
Yeah.
covered 17 different things. Let's find 17 more. But
Didn't
I
even
also
get to
have to
the
pee up
40.
in 5 hours.
Yeah.
Sleep's overrated.
It's my Friday. I can stay up forever.
Nice.
Ouch! Just
I don't
rub
wanna.
that in.
But it's only 8 p.m. on my side.
Oh, that's right. She's in the past.
Yeah, she's in the past.
She's in the past. We're in the
We're in her
future. It's
future.
crazy.
Future men.
Oh, that's cool, man. That's cool. Well, Smitty, closing remarks.
Ganya Soma are awesome. That is all.
Word.
Completely unrelated, but these percentum are freaking awesome. They're growing
Double
like
word.
weeds.
I'm interested to see how those go for you.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, the female's not horrible. The male is fairly nightmarish in terms of his overall attitude. So, but they're out and about a lot. Female just shed. She looks really good. They're eating like champs. So, on a good track with them.
Mike, I did Oreo bottomed chocolate cupcakes this week. I haven't figured out what I'm doing this coming weekend, but
Oh my.
I've seen lots of pictures of your baking experiments.
yeah, if you follow me on Instagram, you get to see it every week.
Which is what?
My Instagram is snakes_n_bakes. You can also find it on my Facebook because it cross posts over there.
Yes.
Nicole, are you on Instagram?
My account is there. I uninstalled the app because I just couldn't handle all those ads. They were driving me nuts.
Yeah, it's getting rough.
It's obnoxious. Although the extension that blocks them on Chrome is helpful.
Yeah, I can access it on desktop, and I also have the ad blocker. I'm glad it's working out for you.
Yeah, it's nice. I mean, every once in a while something sneaks through. Like I guess they'll update their algorithms every now and then. But
Yes, it's like a constant fight.
it tends to be pretty good. So yeah, I go through Instagram on my computer most of the time.
Mhm.
See me, I'm just shopping
Shopping where?
on Instagram. It's amazing.
Oh my god.
They show
Why
me
is-
everything I didn't know I needed.
No,
can
stop
read your
feeding the
brain.
algorithm.
But
Stop.
but
Stop.
they show you all kinds of crazy shit, like shit that I don't know why they decided to show me this stuff, like the
Well, I
ass
mean,
pillow. Like
Yeah,
Yeah.
that
it's
one
a
was
pillow
something
shaped like
else.
somebody's ass, really?
Yeah.
And why are you showing me
Yeah.
this? Because no.
Well, as much as I loathe Big Brother listening to every word I say next to my phone, it is pretty cool when me and my coworker are talking about, UVB bulbs, and then it starts sending me all these crazy light fixture like advertisements, like and they don't like the
Go to your settings and turn those things off.
yeah, like obviously Big Brother doesn't realize when I'm talking about reptiles and stuff per se, but if we're talking about UV index measurements and like UV index readers, and this is literally on a cigarette break at work today, and then I hop on Instagram and I start scrolling, and it's like all these crazy light bulb fixtures and like dimmers and Bluetooth this and Wi-Fi that, and it's cool. And I was looking at a couple of them, so it's helpful to a certain
Oh my god,
degree.
you're feeding it.
I am.
It's growing.
Yeah. And then my coworker made the tragic mistake of telling me about the shop app,
Don't click on it.
which is basically, for those of you who are unaware, it's basically another way to pay, kind of like Apple Pay or PayPal, but
Don't do it.
the companies that use it offer discounts of their merch on the app, and then you gain money to use on the app from your purchases, which is friggin' cool.
Stop.
Sounds like a nightmare to
We
me.
are
Don't do
talking
it,
about
don't do
Ponzi
it.
schemes, and Phil's
Yeah, it's a
tucked
Ponzi
into
scheme.
one.
Look, I've saved a boatload of money buying crap that I would if
That's what they want
normally.
you to think.
Well, I get two options: buy it through the app and save $20, and or get
No.
free shipping, or pay full price on the website.
You're making Zuckerberg a very happy man.
Yeah.
I want to give Zuckerberg nightmares.
Keep looking up
That's why
centipedes.
any ads that I get on Facebook or anything, I automatically tell them they're irrelevant. Even if it's the shit that it overhears me talking about, it's like, nope, that's irrelevant to me.
Wait,
I want them to have a nervous breakdown. That's why I'm sure that I get some of the weird shit that I get. They're like, we don't know what else to offer him. Well, offer him this, for God's sake. It's the only thing we haven't tried.
Nice.
No, you're just training the algorithm.
Like I said,
the
everything
ad
is
blocker.
irrelevant
I
to me.
gave you
So
that
as long as
extension.
everything is irrelevant, they're never going to catch me.
Oh my god.
Yep, they're listening. I think we've all got microchips implanted in us already.
Okay, we're not that far yet.
I don't know. We're
did-
living in a simulation, so
I did wake up with a barcode on my neck. I don't know if that was normal.
You're like, what's this new tattoo?
the vet was scanning my dog, and then all of a sudden I popped up on the little reader. So,
Nice.
so I don't remember getting that.
Jeez. Yeah, right.
Hmm.
Ugh.
Well, this episode was brought to you by BlackBoxCages.com. Check them out. Facebook, Instagram. Whether you like cages, there's cage options. If you like racks, there's rack options. If you like both, get both. Use the discount code THN to check out. Shave a little bit off the top of your order. Save a few bucks.
Fastest
they-
turnaround time in the business.
That's right. And
The best shipping.
We have cord protectors too. So you know how surely you all have heat panels in some of your cages, and you have those couple animals that just constantly unplug it from the actual panel itself. Well, worry not, because now you can get a cord protector that stops your animal from being able to do that. My Jansen Eye's heat panel's been unplugged for months. Haven't even bothered plugging it back in. It's just been sitting there unplugged because every time I plug it back in, the next day, it's out. So
Cord surfer.
that's right. And the chondros, they think that it's like the perfect perch in the house. And lo and behold, they unplug it and fall.
It's their version of a hammock.
Yeah, I guess
You
so.
ever, you ever wonder if they can feel the current in the cord, and that's what they're drawn to?
I don't think so. I think for chondros, it's like the thinnest perch. They would perch on nothing if they could. The thinnest perch possible is what they want. You have one?
What are you unpacking?
Yeah, you
I
have
a version
those,
of something
but-
like that too.
You do one of these every 6 inches, and nobody's unplugging shit.
But this is a literal housing that you put over that cord as it comes out of the heat panel, and it stops them from being able to play that game.
Well, that works too, I suppose. But I've got my bags of these.
So everyone check that out. Facebook, Instagram, blackboxcages.com. Puget Sound Pythons, check them out as well. Facebook and Instagram. Check their morph market. I think they have some stuff up for grabs. We'll be back for THP on Thursday. I don't know exactly what the plan is. I know this week is our 5-year anniversary.
Wow.
Woo.
So we've done no planning as far as anything with that. But in typical fashion, 5 years of having zero planning, it just fits. So thank you all. We'll see you all later.
Catch you later.
Good night.
Bye.